Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Giuseppe Montesano, Trying to Triangle, Mitch Kennedy, Original D-Rose, Rod, The Name's Burley, Twad Wazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Losing Your Religion, J Mel's 24, Unimento, M Iron 26, Endless, Flat Earth Sage, Goldie McKiernan, Retro Bill, More Books, Cannabear, Bogey, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels Banter, Mel B Styles, Hairy Blade, Mobile Mac 777, Rob W, Reese Pound, Dale West Watson, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
You have to have air pressure first to do that.
Correct.
Uh,
And we have gas pressure here on Earth. We're alive. It's not flying into outer space. Right? That means we have containment. We have a hard structure keeping the air pressure we are breathing right now contained. Without it, there's no pressure.
well, yeah, but I can tell you without doubt that if there was a space for gas to fill, it would.
Absolutely. See, they're missing it. They're missing it. They're not understanding that we have containment, right? Or they're deliberately missing it because they know that it destroys their water ball. Come on.
Well, it destroys their universe, not necessarily their water ball, because there's flat earthers that still believe in space. Yeah.
Yeah, Neil.
What happened?
There's still flat earthers that believe in space. You just ignored him.
Oh, no, I'm paying attention to something else. I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, they believe in space. I agree.
So once you accept space exists, then you got to figure out a logical framework in which to, explore these phenomenon.
What phenomenon?
Gas not filling space. That phenomenon. Oh yeah, Nathan, I never did congratulate you on the taking that dude apart so quickly on Ball Busters. That was epic.
I didn't think it was
that
that
guy.
quick.
Yeah.
There was a lot of rumpusing and me repeating myself 7 times. I wouldn't say that was particularly quick. But thank you anyway.
No,
it was quick.
We were talking to him. Hold on. We were talking to him before the show started. And he said, yo, I'm here for truth. But I don't think he was.
Well, he immediately went into ad homs. Like, I usually figure when it goes to ad homs, it's over. They don't have nothing left in the tank, and they start insulting you or something like that, their rage is building now because they've lost. And you only had to say one sentence and it was over.
It was perfect timing because we were discussing that exact subject. It's like you don't need to. What was it again that we were talking about? Oh yeah, horizons in space. You don't need to start offering apologetics for the horizon or for the space if you're not making a claim about it. Just point out that you can't have gas pressure without a container, or you can't have pictures from space in that instance, and that's where the argument ends. And he kept on trying. He's like, well, yeah, but I'm not saying the photos are or aren't real. But hypothetically, if we talk about what happens in these photos...
That was them stone.
Yeah, well, I like the part where he said, well, why does everything go down? And you were like, it doesn't. And that was there was a hard line on it.
Nathan said, name 3 things in your room going down right now.
But his.
I can find it. We'll have a listen. You carry on.
Yeah, but it was over the moment he pointed out that not everything was going down. So
correct.
That's when he broke into ad homs.
Right, but he said, so you're gonna answer my question by asking me a question? And he said, no, I answered you. I said they're not.
He just wasn't hearing it. He was getting mad. Well, he was hearing it and he was getting mad because he either wasn't understanding it or he wanted to say something past it.
Up for where you're putting
Is a pro.
What I'll do is I'll look for it on my iPad so the audio doesn't destroy the conversation.
Okay. Yeah, we were talking to him earlier, and she said it was going to be on gravity. He's like, "Oh, great, gravity." So me and George were speaking to him about it a little bit. And he's like, "That's great. I'm here for truth." I said, "Well, just let your mind be open and listen." But he wasn't having any listening.
The truth is, not everything goes down.
That's correct.
So there's no such thing as gravity.
Oh, you got Dell on one side. I think I seen him in one of Dell's too. You got Dell on one side saying we're making claims that things are going down, things are going up, and things are remaining in equilibrium without anything causing them. So he's saying we're the ones making the claims. So there's a lot of confusion with this.
What claim are we making?
Some things go down, some things go up, some things remain in equilibrium.
No, we're just pointing that out. I mean, I guess you could call that a claim, but that is true. You just look out your window.
We're pointing out what we see in nature, correct?
Yeah.
Now, Bell is saying that cannot happen unless there's some sort of force applied.
Yeah, he's invoking the cause of entropy.
Sounds like he is, right?
No, that's what he's doing, because the best thing you can do is explain a second order effect with the scientific method, but it still comes down to it's an entropic effect. You're never going to get to the cause of entropy.
Okay, so I found it. The bit where the guy comes in. Wanna have a listen?
Absolutely.
Reprioritize like that.
before we get to Adam. Somebody said the majority. Why do majority things go down? I heard that in the background.
They don't.
Yeah, I
either.
asked that. I was curious as to why the majority of
That was where you said it, John. I said they don't. But while I was saying it, he said, I said the majority of things go down. I think I'll repeat it. I don't.
things go down, and if just
Name
a couple of
three
outlying things going up negates all of things going down.
All the things going down. Name 3 things in your room going down right now. Time's up. So 0 things going down in your room right now. Name 3. It's a total
Why do the
fail.
majority of things go down?
I had your question. I asked you, name...
Can you answer my question without asking me a question?
I answered. Said they're not. I said, name 3 things in your room that are going down. And
You answered my question with another question?
No, I said they're not. And then gave you an example of them not doing that by asking you with my example that was a question.
I just knocked 3 things off my desk. Why did they fall?
You pushed them off.
Why did they go down to the ground?
You pushed them. Were they helium balloons that you pushed off your desk?
Why didn't they go up to the ground? Why didn't they go up? Why didn't they go sideways?
Okay, meanwhile, unless you interfere with things, that's just you interfering with things. Nothing's going down. The gases around you are all going up, without exception. All of them have come out of the ground and got up. I can give you an example of stuff going up. Unless you do something, nothing's going down.
Oh, so it's somehow kinetic energy based?
What? Nothing's going... You haven't responded to my rebuttal. I said nothing...
What rebuttal? You asked me a question.
Now he's talking to me. I asked you to example 3 things going down, and you made them go down. I haven't done anything to look up at the clouds and see them forming above me. Or
wait, you think that I'm just going to see things falling in my room?
You're interrupting me. Why are you interrupting me? What is your scumbag problem when I'm answering you?
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I
just have to listen.
interrupt you?
Said you were here to learn. You're not. You're here to interrupt me. You said I asked you a question. I heard your response. Then I pointed out that my response was not all things go down. And by way of an example with a question, I asked you if anything's going down in your room, and it wasn't until you interfered with it. I didn't hear anything go down, so while you verbalised things going down, you didn't actually push anything off your desk. I didn't hear anything clatter in your microphone. Nothing went down still, unless you do something future tense. Meanwhile, before you interrupt for a 3rd time, you don't have to do a damn thing to look at the clouds and know that they are going up. They're not going down. Neither is all the gases around me. So again,
the clouds are going up?
Same conclusion. 4th interruption. Same conclusion. 4 times. What's your scumbag problem? It's not rhetorical. Sure, malfunction. That's not rhetorical. I've attempted 4 times to give you the same answer, and 4 times you've interrupted the conclusion.
You seem extremely high-strung.
You seem to be unfamiliar with how the code of conduct here
Owen, shut up.
in the
Owen,
show.
at your rebuttal, you are very high-strung. You say most things go down. Why do the majority go down? No, they're not.
No, that wasn't a rebuttal. That was just an
You've been
observance.
high-strung, talking through me 5th time. Heard you what you said. You said I'm trying to respond. You said I'm high-strung. I'm trying to respond.
Yeah, go ahead. You're
That's the gap.
high-strung.
Now you're talking
Kind of
through
sound
me.
like you're
I asked
high-strung.
why you're a scumbag. Just mute him. He can't tolerate. I'm responding to you. You said you're very high-strung. People get high-strung when people interrupt them 5 times and they've had the conclusion laid out to them. They don't acknowledge the conclusion. They don't respond to the conclusion. And when they do, they tell you, rather than a response to the conclusion you've given, tell you that you personally are high-strung. Oh, I've pointed out that nothing's going down as you've asked why the majority of stuff goes down. It doesn't. Given examples of stuff that's going up that I don't have to interfere with in any way. I've swiftly overcome your argument, and all you've done is try and interrupt.
You really seem
And there you are again.
stressed.
And there you are again.
It's very stressful for you, isn't it?
It's stressful when you interrupt. Yeah, it's stressful at the conclusion that somebody interrupting 6 times, I'm going to summarise the fact that you aren't addressing anything I've said.
Why are you so angry? Are you angry right now?
So you don't have to listen to it. So you don't have to listen to it. You think it's better to interrupt the conclusion.
Yeah, I stopped him. Listen, This isn't a show that we appeal to other people's emotions or intents, little ad homs. You have to provide substance to the argument. Okay? You following me?
The rebuttal stone is that not all things are going down unless you interfere with them, and I can example stuff that's going up. In conclusion, some stuff goes up, some stuff goes down, some stuff remains neutral. We don't require a force of down. End of argument.
Yes. Anything substantive you have, do not attack the person, deal with the argument.
I didn't hear the argument. I'm curious.
Because you were talking
Things-
through it.
Things don't go down because clouds go up. Is that the gist of it?
No.
I'll summarize again slower. A slowed down voice for you who are
Hey,
slow.
Nathan, I got an idea. Why don't you ask one of these people that you indoctrinate every day?
Oh, I see. So rather than hearing the slowed down response that he didn't understand, he wants to introduce a new ad hom when he's been told by the host not to. Scumbag. Yeah.
I
Some
recognize he needs
things
to
go
tell.
down, some things go up, some things remain neutral. Therefore, there is no need to explain a bias down. Second time's a charm.
Last chance. Stick to the argument,
troll.
not personal attacks.
I have not personally attacked anybody.
Okay. You're finished.
I told him to keep it
Strung.
on, just keep your mind open. And he didn't. He
I
came with
haven't
an
attacked
attitude.
anybody, so it's now a liar.
Yep.
Just call me high strung. Let's just see if he can address this.
And he said you indoctrinated.
Neil and Arwen, can you not tell there's a discussion going on? Thank you. Neil, just keep it down. Thank you. Stone said you didn't attack the person. You called me high strung. You're a liar.
Are you taking high strung as an insult?
It's directed at me personally. It's not in any way addressing the argument. It's an ad hom. Absolutely, you're a liar.
I'm a liar about what? You being high strung?
You weren't attacking me. Personally, you were. That's what that was. It's an at the person, at the man, ad hominem. You dumb? Do you not know what an ad hom is? You are guilty of it. You said you weren't, making you a liar. Simple.
Just seemed really high strung to me. I don't know
Okay,
if
that's it.
There it is again.
Yeah.
That's get lost time, M Stone. Yeah, you're not a tolerable guest. You can't address any of my arguments. That's the problem. The reason you're calling me high strung is because an ad hominem fallacy is where you don't have a rebuttal. All you have is attacking the person. So calling me high strung addresses the fact that not all things go down for a downward bias of gravity force that you need to explain all things going down, or most things going down, which I also addressed. You've got absolutely nothing to come back at me with. So I will conclude with you on mute because you can't do anything but ad hom me in response to my 7th rendition of this to you, M Stone. 7. What have you got in response? I think you're very high strung. No, 7 responses to your gravity need for a downward bias explanation that isn't required because not all things are going down, and I've exampled plenty of things that are going up. You haven't given me anything other than when you interfere with it. 7 times. Try again, M Stone. Last chance.
Last chance. Go ahead.
No, this is great. I agree with everything you say. Spot on.
Excellent. So gravity isn't required. Nonsense made-up story for people who think they're stuck to the side of a spinning water ball in a sky vacuum. What a load of old nonsense, eh, Stone? I think we'll leave it there. Don't need to hear about me moaning about his poor interpersonal skills. Backed up by him saying, yeah, I do knock people's hats off when I interact with them personally. What do you mean I haven't got good interpersonal skills? Anyway.
That was great. But you seen how quickly he got triggered, how quickly he had to take it to a personal level. You know?
They all do.
It says a lot. Right. But it says a lot about how weak their argument is.
It started before the personal attacks. Before he said I was high strung, he's already interjecting in the middle of points that are being made to him in response. So he's already breaking the flow of the information that's supposed to be responded to by him by interrupting. That's just what it's tactics. That's all they've got. Tactics and personal attacks, ad hominem fallacies. That's it.
Well, now that I'm listening back, I kind of agree with the guy. You were a little bit high strung, yelling at me and Arwen.
Yeah, there's me sitting back
irrelevant.
That's
listening,
normal.
thinking,
That's normal. What are you talking about?
I hope they're listening to this thinking, yes, we're trying to hear a discussion in regards to M. Stone's gravity belief. Alternative,
Well,
we
hold
can
on,
have
hold.
Neil talk straight through the middle of it like that. Then that's just as good, I
No,
guess.
hold on. Because QE said you're done, so we thought he put him on mute. We didn't know the conversation was still going on.
As if a truckload of new astrophysics papers were released.
I see. So Stone being put on mute means to you conversation over. No, it means he's interrupting a point that's being made to him.
No, when he said you're done, we're just trying to say that he was there early. That's all.
Okay, done interrupting.
Or
No, he
Dunn,
said he's going to give him one more chance.
or Dunn and Kruger.
Well, what
That's
QE
true.
was trying to do was give him the idea that there are consequences for his actions and make him calm down, is what QE was trying to do.
Right. So the prisoner's being whipped, and you go, but he just whipped him, so I threw 20 stones at his head. No, this isn't how it works. You watch and listen to what's going on. The discipline's being doled out by the jailer, not you, the audience. Now, in that instance, you were the audience. Sorry, Neil, that's just how it is.
Yeah, I know. Just a misunderstanding.
So can I get
You
a
smell
contact?
blood.
Just for the analogy to be complete, I was the jailer whipping him.
You always are, you mean bastard.
Yes, you smell blood. John got it right. See, those kind of interjections like John's, perfectly timed and on point, those are allowed.
Can someone give me context for this? Nothing was something. What was that all about again?
Issa.
No, but who was talking?
M. Stone on Ballbusters. He was saying, you're telling me that stuff going up negates our claim that all things go down? Yes, it does. Well, the majority of stuff
not
goes
that.
down. No, you can't example anything going down currently. I can example stuff going up. That doesn't mean I'm going to go into a Earth falling away to force the clouds into the sky or anything nonsensical like that. It just negates your downward bias claim. That doesn't happen.
No, not.
That's it.
No, sorry, Nathan, not that one. Nothing was something and something was nothing. What was that one?
I don't know. You've
That
just...
came after I got it. That came, relax, Nathan. That came after that guy, and after, I'll never get a chance to do that again.
Hang
And
on,
after the
Nathan. He's
show
high
ended-
strung. He's
It's all right,
high strung, Nathan. Get
Don't
rid of him.
rumpus him. Don't do that to him when I've just made the example. Go ahead, Neil. You know and I don't. Feel free.
That came after the show ended, and QE closed the shop. This guy came in with his Ether argument.
And
That
his
you
ether-
can't have something because something, the opposite of something is nothing, therefore Ether.
Well, I found the video for that. And that's going to be today's review. But before that, I'm going to post a real short. I guess everyone's doing shorts. Here's Dr. Becky doing a short. They just discovered gravitational waves, just massive amounts of information. It's totally unleashed on us.
And in other news, they figured out how the wardrobe works in Narnia. That too.
Yeah, more people are coming out of the closet these days.
It's not that they figured out how it works. That technology was lost in the late 70s, early 80s. And, you know, it's really difficult these days to build back the wardrobe technology. Doesn't mean we aren't still figuring things out about Narnia. Just get the context right. We haven't got a wardrobe currently. There's no wardrobe capabilities. And like I say, it would take tens of billions to build back that capability that we lost. It was destroyed.
Well, Well, it was destroyed on our side of the wardrobe. Hold on. It was destroyed on our side of the wardrobe. The wardrobe still exists in Narnia.
They need to dumb that down this far. I think the plebeians are listening and understand that there's still a Narnia. Just because there isn't a wardrobe doesn't mean there's not a Narnia. The Narnia's still there. Technically, if you want to phrase it that way, on the other side of the wardrobe that doesn't exist because that technology is very difficult to maintain and therefore got destroyed and is difficult to build back up. But there's still Narnia, obviously. Just means that currently there's absolutely no way us or you can ever go there. But we went
So
there
you're
and,
saying-
it's all very exciting.
So you're saying it would be a painful process to get that technology back to go to the wardrobe?
Yeah, well, painful's the right word. It's definitely going to be a painful process, but you say technology, it's not. It's magic. Yeah? It's a painful process to build that magic back up. This isn't space travel, Neil. It's not like we can just throw a lot of technology and CGI at it. Come on. Need a lot of magic.
You're going to play Dr. Becky's Gravitational Waves that I just sent you?
A truckload of new astrophysics papers were released today, confirming that the big news that we've all been waiting for was evidence for huge gravitational waves, most likely due to merging supermassive black holes. And it's all been made possible thanks to pulsar timing arrays. Pulsars are dead stars spinning incredibly fast with beams of radio light from their poles that sweep out across the universe like a lighthouse. Which brings me to
That was a lot of nonsense to take in all at once while I was framing up the video for its size.
Hang on.
That was a lot to unpack.
I mean, you gotta give it to her. Her excitement, her passion for all this stuff in Narnia is fantastic.
No. There's a fine line with Dr. Becky because some of the stuff that she's showing, right? The name within the system, within the heliocentric structure of a pulsar. So I it's on screen actually. Pulsar in great big bold type. But she mentioned a pulsar. There it is. Okay, right. What's a pulsar? Well, if you want to take the context of the description within heliocentric motion, orbital motion, right? Kepler's ideas of what a pulsar is, then no, obviously not. We're not in a heliocentric system. We're not moving around the sun. We're not moving, right? But then when you look into the most literal description of what the word is, what is pulsar? Well, it's a word ascribed to something that we do actually visually experience. Now, I personally haven't ever seen a pulsar in my telescope when I had one, but I'm prepared to give that leverage to this discussion for the sake of this discussion, which is to say, for the sake of discussion, we're going to say pulsars can be witnessed. You can look through a telescope and see a little dot with little lights coming out of it and looking like they're spinning around. Okay, I'm going to say fine. That exists and I can see it in a telescope potentially, even though I haven't personally. Okay, just so we're not arguing about whether or not you can or cannot see it. We'll just say we can. It's equivalent to Saturn or something, yeah? So pulsars are like Saturn. It's something you can see in the night sky. Okay, but beyond that, what do we actually have to tell us what it is or how it is or why it is? Nothing is the answer. Absolutely nothing. Got what we saw in the telescope lens and nothing else. That's it.
The definition of a pulsar. Sorry, John, let me just read it. The definition of a pulsar. Pulsar is a special kind of neutron star, which is the ultra-dense leftover core of a massive star. Pulsars emit beams of radiation that sweep out in circles as the pulsar spins. Do we see beams of radiation?
No. All we see is a light in the sky that seems to pulse. And that's why it's called a pulsar.
And I've got no issue with that.
Twinkle, little star. Oh, I wonder what you are.
Exactly. We don't know what it is. And while we can wonder and even ascribe heliocentric concepts like orbits to it, it doesn't make it so. All we've got is what we saw. And we can wonder what that is. Now, you can apply stellar spectroscopy to it, and we can pull apart that if you're going to claim some sort of validity to your assertions about what it is. But that's, again, scratching the surface of what potentially could offer you answers to what it is, and we can debunk them. So beyond stellar spectroscopy, is maybe someone on the panel can say, no, here's something they've actually done to tell me what a pulsar is in physical terms.
She just said the truckloads of information were dumped. Now, who's dumping this truckloads of information?
You're saying
Well,
it's been
I'm
on.
guessing if it's going to be,
Sorry, go on, John.
if it's stellar spectroscopy, it's obviously a spectrometer in a sky vacuum, space where gas isn't filling, so that they have the controlled circumstances they need to know what the star is made of.
I see. So it's potentially spectroscopy equipment in a sky vacuum, violation of the second law of thermodynamics, to take pictures of lights claimed to also be culminations of gases in sky vacuums not expanding, but the lights have got beams coming out of them that are presumably gases. I don't know. Anyway, let's just have a listen to the last bit of this short.
Timing. For 15 years, astronomers have been recording the precise time between these light flashes to see if it ever changed.
Because that would tell us how much they changed. So what she's actually talking about, the evidence, is them timing the flashes. So timing, let's just rephrase that slightly for Adam's benefit. Timing the twinkles. Right, Adam?
Oh, well, if you know how often they twinkle, you can make all sorts of stories around the rate of twinklage.
Twinklage.
Because distance equals speed times time. So if
Distance equals speed times twinklage. God, Becky, you just got to get this vernacular down. You're not with the lexicon here.
the time changes, then the distance to that pulsar has changed.
Really? So your distance comes from a heliocentric R-based assumption in a Kepler scaling system. Yeah, interplanetary motion. That's his terminology for the scaling system in the mathematics. But you don't actually have any distances until you superimpose the presupposition of Earth as a sphere with its radius that can't be measured onto Venus as a sphere in a sky vacuum, now with the same radius as the presupposed Earth radius. Then, and only then, can you utilise Kepler's third law of interplanetary motion to give you the scaling values and distances. Now, from that, you can extrapolate every distance based on that assumption for your heliocentric world, with us flying around in a sky vacuum around the sun, in the solar system, and the solar system flying around the great attractor. Right, well, with all of those motions in tow, all you can do is infer the distance based on the assumption that Venus is the same size as a sphere Earth with an assumed radius that can't be measured. Just so we're clear about what she's saying when she says her twinkles correlate to some sort of distance.
Which could be due to a gravitational...
Oh, what is this? This looks like a 2D representation on my flat projection screen of a 3D conceptualization in 3D graphical terms represented on a 2D screen to tell us that we've got a, bent geodesic in a space-time fourth dimension that is definitely not depicted visually here. So these ripples look like sideways ripples from a lake if you dropped a rock in it. How is this pseudo-Riemannian for space-time? This is not fourth dimension time bending. It's 3D represented on a 2D screen, definitely not a time dimension bending, as a conceptual explanation for something that you've reified into existence based on Kepler and Huygens. So, no, this is definitely not an example of why or how when she starts waffling on about what gravity does. No, and this isn't even a pictorial example of gravity, because it's not fourth dimensional. Go ahead, whoever that was. Was it John?
It was me just objecting to a measurement, a new measurement tool. If I take a flashlight and go over to a hill, and you start measuring my rate of twinklage, and then my rate of twinklage changes, does that imply that I've altered the rate of twinklage on my flashlight, or that the flashlight is at a different distance? That seems to be the fundamental of her claim. Assume it's a constant rate from this pulsar, look at the way in which it thing is, and then ascribe a distance based on the differentials. Seems a little bit presumptive. It's been in Kepler. It's trying to use, I assume, redshift and rate of twinklage.
But that will still be based within Kepler's model. Unless I'm very much mistaken.
On top of that, isn't it? It's going to sit on top.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. It's going to be based on... What you're saying is you're addressing the foundation for this time-based, twinkle-based time extrapolation that sat on top of what I've debunked, rather than me addressing directly the twinklage. No, because I thought by taking the piss out of it, we'd move past that and would just get to the heart of it with But you're saying that it seems, I'm guessing, it seems to the audience that I've actually sidestepped her actual point, which you could claim I have done. You're right. I've gone to the heart of it, where you're getting to the surface of what she's actually putting out here and now, which is probably better. Well, we've done both now, haven't we?
Exactly, in both methods.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Good morning, everybody.
I have a different point.
Morning, D-Rose. Be nothing but thorough, Adam. Go ahead, John. Hey, D-Rose.
The idea of distance equals speed times times, I think, is that what she said? Whereas speed already has time as part of its calculation, and she added time in again. Did I hear that right?
We'll see if she's got a equivocation with time. What you're saying is she used time as in the fourth dimensional pseudo-Riemannian space-time that's bending on screen now. You can't see it, audience can, along with time as a qualification for an elapsed period. In other words, an equivocation used within the example. Let's just have a listen again and we'll see if she's...
A wave, a ripple in space itself,
won't
but to
let
be
me
sure,
rewind.
we need to study many pulsars in
It won't let me rewind a TikTok short.
an array. Distribute across the entire galaxy, which you can then use to triangulate the positions and see if the distances between them change. And
Triangulate? Wow,
Beg your
okay.
pardon?
Exactly. Come again? You'll need a flat earth for that, my love.
that data
Man,
released
I-
today matches
You
Go on.
know, I would have been more impressed if they would have said they found a male and female unicorn Pegasus fossils or something. At least they'd have something to show three-dimensional and tangible, even if, I mean, this is ridiculous.
Well,
This is
not-
ridiculous.
Not necessarily. If they're saying they're triangulating its position, I don't know if she hasn't
Oh, no,
qualified
no,
what she means in that regard, because she might mean with respect to its ground position. I don't know. She's not actually qualified that yet, and it's only a short video, so it's going to. Oh, there's the time bar. Couldn't see it.
what we expect to see for merging supermassive black holes. With a few differences that could lead to some exciting new physics that I'll talk about in my YouTube video next week. A truckload of new astrophysics papers were released today, confirming that the big news that we've all been waiting for was evidence for huge gravitational waves, most likely due to merging supermassive black holes. And it's all been made possible thanks to pulsar timing arrays. Pulsars are dead stars spinning incredibly fast with beams of radio light from their poles that sweep out across the universe like
Just
a
a
lighthouse.
second.
Which brings me
Say again.
When were stars alive to then become dead?
Yeah, I was going to brush over that. There would, when she said it the first time, I was like, "Wow, that's a lot to unpack, isn't there?" So yeah, according to them, a pulsar is a dead star. It's the remains after a supernova, I believe. So yeah, it's exploded out. It's collapsed. All of its various different elemental structures have combined till they can't combine any further. It's exploded out into the known universe, depositing all of those heavier metals into all the other areas of the universe, which will eventually become us, which is why we get called the cousins of rocks. And then what you're left with is a pulsar, this little tiny remnants of the original star that's flashing like they describe it here.
What, that's pulsing with light?
Morning.
So
Yeah.
producing light like a star.
And when
But
that
this one that
dies,
produces light is dead.
yeah, but when that dies, it becomes I believe, a neutron star in their crappy gravity nonsense. And a neutron star is then the ultra dense, 1 teaspoon of it weigh the same as Earth or some crazy nonsense. So once the pulsar dies, I think it becomes a neutron star. Again, it's quite some time since I used to be fascinated with heliocentric rhetoric, so that could be wrong, and I don't care. It's completely arbitrary.
And they have equipment to do all of this calculation and measurement and weight.
Well, they're just Adam, tell him again. They're counting the flashes and timing them. That's it. But I just want to get to whether or not she's used time twice, as that was John's point. That's the only reason I'm playing this again.
me to timing. For 15 years, astronomers have been recording the precise time between these light flashes to see if it ever changed, because distance equals speed times time.
Yes, she has. So if distance equals speed times time, and you're explaining this concept of a massive amount of gravitational distortion or larger bent geodesics, I assume, then the bent geodesic is the time that you're describing as a consequence. But she's got distance and speed, distance equals speed times time. It's like, well, does it equal speed when you've got time as the dimension that's being qualified at the end of this description, that's an
That's
equivocation.
a different time. That's a different T, you see, isn't it? And that's the confusion. The distance is speed times time. I'll tell you how far you've gone. But it's not in this case, because in this case, it's distance is equal to speed times time as you travel through time.
Yeah, so it's an equivocation. There's time being used in two different contexts. Therefore, if you're going to use the classical description on screen now, it would have to be rewritten to contextualize it within what she's trying to example at the end, which is an example of gravity being proven through pulsar timings. Well, then you've got distance equals speed times the fabric of space time, as opposed to speed times time. But then it doesn't work anymore.
Distance equals speed times time, but distance is not equal to speed times time because it's equal to speed times time times the bending of space-time, which will add extra distance.
Yeah. It couldn't be in a big...
See how nutty it gets when you...
Very, very, and quickly.
Morning, guys.
Okay, we've covered all of that now. But yeah, good
Say
catch,
that 3 times fast. Say that fast 3 times, whatever you just said.
It's just an equivocation. She's using the same word with two different meanings attached to it in the context. So that's an equivocation fallacy, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't think in this point she's wanting to go anywhere near the fact that this pulse of light is traveling through what she's about to go on to, which is a 4D geodesic, which includes time as that fourth dimension. I think she wouldn't want to go anywhere near that when she's just describing speed equals speed times time. Is that she's happy to keep as just the standard Cartesian expression, isn't she?
No, she goes to that. She goes to that immediately after.
Yeah, then she's going to go into a gravitational waves, which is the rippling of a fourth dimensional time that she's not referenced previously, only referencing it as the concept of time, as opposed to a dimensional structure.
Right. So
Hate to break it to you, boys. Hate to break it to you, boys, but you can need a geometric horizon that's physical and an R value.
Yeah, I broke all that down during a short, but Adam's still focused on this, and I'm glad he is, which is to say that if you've got a time being qualified initially, you need it to stay consistent in terms of what it is. You can't have time in the, did you say Cartesian sense? Or did you say, was it Euclidean?
Yeah. So she's trying to measure distance in a Cartesian sense, then she can use the concept of time to use distance equals speed times time, can't she?
Right. So once you've got that
it's also wrong in that...
Well, just one sec. Once she's got that, I'm just trying to understand this. Once she's got that Cartesian concept laid down, as she did in that description, then you've got to incorporate a different description of a pseudo-Riemannian rather than what you said was Cartesian time dimension.
Yeah.
Which is going to be bent, and that bending is what she's trying to qualify overall as the example. So she's saying, big news, lots of gravity shown here. That's the big news, right? So the big news is lots of bent space-time, okay? So then why are we appealing to this qualifier with a Cartesian description of time? It immediately becomes an equivocation fallacy.
Right. And also, are you trying to figure out distance or distance traveled? Because they're two different things. It's subtly different. But if you're talking about speed over time, you're talking about distance traveled. That's not distance.
Right, but she's not. She's doing neither because she's qualified it with the diagram I stopped on, although you couldn't see it. When I said, look, this is a 2D representation of a 3D picture of a ripple in a lake turned on its side to suggest that it's a fourth dimensional pseudo 4D space-time dimension that's being bent as the consequence. Look, big news, lots of space-time being bent. In other words, the consequence isn't a distance at all. It's a bent geodesic in space-time. And the extent of that bent geodesic is the big news. So, yeah. Well, we're getting hyper-specific. We haven't even started the live show yet, man. We're in depth here.
I was going to say, good morning, guys, first of all. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, Chop.
Morning.
Hey, can I say something after chocolate?
I'm gonna get a. Oh, no,
Well,
I've
if you
run out of
think,
milk. I was gonna get another coffee and I've run out of milk. Okay, I'm gonna have to sort myself out
go
a
get a
different drink.
coffee. I'll talk to D Rose.
Talk amongst yourselves 5 minutes.
It's all right.
I'm on
D
the
Rose, go
chocolate
ahead.
crack.
I'll go after you.
I don't know. That was chocolate. I didn't say anything. I think that was chocolate saying good
Oh,
morning.
okay.
I didn't really-
I just wanted to say good morning. I'm good, guys. How's
Yeah,
everybody?
yeah. Good morning,
Can I
coffee
say
That
something,
was
guys?
Gene, I believe.
Yeah,
All right.
I don't know if you guys saw Neil deGrasse Tyson on this Bet Patrick David guys podcast. They asked him, "Do you like debate?" And he says, "No, debate is grandstanding an idea." And he says the most charismatic person always wins. And I paused the video and I was like, "Well, that's you."
You're
But he
always
does not like the
projecting.
idea of debate.
He just believes in pushing his narrative on a mainstream broadcast so that he can shine and get the populist attention so that he can brainwash them and put a spell on them. So when little guys like us
Well,
start
you know what? I
contradicting,
agree with him. We are no longer debating this topic. If he would like to come and join, we're not debating it.
Very good. We're going to have a video today for Nathan to review. And it's where that guy, I guess, came in after the show the other day and said nothing and something and something is nothing. Well, I found the source. It was Neil deGrasse Tyson. So we're going to, you think Dr. Becky was talking nonsense? Wait till you hear Neil.
Wait, you got Neil giving ether rhetoric?
I've got that. That's why I came on the show today and asked our Neil, all right, what was that all about? And he said it was afterwards. This guy came in and he was applying it to ether. Okay. And so now you're going to see where I think he got the source of it, which is Neil deGrasse Tyson talking about how many molecules within the set square something. I can't remember now, but I watched it late last night. And I said, oh, this is going to be fun tomorrow.
he may have been parroting Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah, I think so. I think he was because I wasn't there for that actual discussion that our Neil was talking about. But then when I heard, we had a little fun with some back and forth on something, nothing. And I think you sang the song.
Yeah, because I was there.
It is the nothing of space.
Yes, nothing of space is really something until you can't believe all the derivations that Tyson has to go through until there's actually nothing. If he even got there, I think, or almost nothing.
Yeah, but after the nothing, there's the anti-nothing. Don't forget that.
And I was there with Neil. I was there with Neil after the show.
Okay, let D Rose say. What you were there with Neil?
There's the counter
I was
nothing.
there. Me and Neil was going in at him. It's some no tank or whatever his name is. Yeah, and Neil was like, get out of here with all that crap. After all of that was presented to you, still saying that. And he was like, yeah, I mean, can you explain? Can you explain why? You get nothing from something, so like this Rodney Dangerfield voice. You know what I'm saying? But that's why I say nothing from nothing means nothing.
You
got to have something.
We just need to learn the rhetoric of the different nothings. There's the nothing, which is just nothing, like the non-existence of anything. Right, that's the nothing. Then there's the anti-nothing, which is the something, but without anything to show for it. Right? Then there's the counter nothing. The counter nothing is the beyond where you've got nothing that the nothing is going to expand into. That's the counter nothing. Yeah?
Oh my God.
Then you've got
that geometry is pseudo-Riemannian.
This is all pseudo-Riemannian.
Is that where in the game of cards?
Non-manifest nothing as well.
Is that why in the game of cards they say you can ante up?
So
that's pseudo-Riemannian is the geometry of the nothing.
Yeah. Then you've got negative nothing.
So Nathan, is it correlative to what came first, the egg or the chicken?
Negative nothing is the only qualitative one. It's in minus numbers. It's how much below zero nothing you've got.
Well,
Minus
you got it
nothing.
in Master D. If you want to cue up the sound before the show.
None of you are getting the intrinsic nature of this nothing explanation. So if you've got
It's a
nothing,
nothing.
and you've got
It's
yeah,
nothing.
but when you go below that, yeah, less than nothing, minus nothing, negative nothing, yeah, it's below having nothing. It's like even less than nothing.
We call it dead space.
Dead space. You've got it.
Dead space.
Dead space. Exactly.
It's in the maths.
Yeah, it's in the maths, right? So if you imagine where the universe is expanding into, what's it expanding into? Well, it's expanding into the negative anti-counter nothing.
Dead space.
Dead space.
The nothing that was
and-
there before
Not
the
dead.
something that we call nothing expanded into it.
Yeah, because
Oh,
DEBT.
nothing
Dead space.
beforehand. As it expands, the dead space expands into it. Then the non-manifest nothing manifests into nothing.
We are joined by Refracted Curvature, Neil, 10th Man, the Adam Meakin, Chocolate Saiyan, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome one and all.
Hello. Good morning.
good
Discord
morning.
gang.
Hello,
Morning.
Discord gang. A very
Shout out to Discord gang.
millennial of you. Shout out to my Discord crew, my Discord posse. How you all doing,
That's enough,
Discord
Nathan.
crew?
That's enough, Nathan.
You want to join the
Gotta be
Discord?
more than 4 people showing up in G plus. We're losing our power, guys.
You want to join the Discord gang? There's a link in the info box. I see that from the cheesy YouTubers. If you want to join my Discord posse, we call them the bangers. Whatever. Yeah, link
Call
to
it the
Discord
family.
below if you want it. Feel free. You can come in and tell us how ball-shaped the Earth isn't. Anyway, let's do a bit of housekeeping. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge? That's a horizon, formerly known as the curve of the Earth.
Oh, formally? It's not known as the curve of the Earth anymore? Why is that, Nathan?
Refracted. Now it's not a physical obstruction to boats and buildings. It's a refracted horizon. You wouldn't expect to see the geometry of Earth blocking boats and buildings. No one's expecting to see physical geometry. These are things that we've been told by ballers, in case you weren't picking that up. They were actually paraphrased quotes. So, rumpus. The geometric horizon only exists in the maths, end quote. Planar walk. Nobody's expecting to see physical geometry, end quote. AB science. You say. Can't remember if AB science.
Nathan,
Go on.
Nathan,
How
remember
can
the
it be a
guy
sphere
that came in?
without the curvature?
I don't know, I got 10th and Jorge at the same time. Go on, 10th and Jorge.
Yeah, the guy that came in the other day and asked the question about what would it take for me to believe we're on a globe. Well, just you making claims of something, you need to back up those claims. So I would need to see all the claims of the globe in reality. And what we're talking about here is formally, because you'd never ever see it because it's made up and it's below water surface. So
Just
there is
remembered.
no geometric horizon, but if there was,
Well, I'm just remembered AB Science's quote. So, AB Science, we are not going to see the geometric horizon. So, to answer your question, Chocolate, there's the 3 quotes for you from Ballers in answer to the Black Swan. We're not going to see Earth curve.
Hello. So that's why it's formally known as Earth curve. Because apparently it used to
We
be
got you,
there and
Owen.
used to block boats and stuff, but now it doesn't.
I was
Yeah.
going to say, Chop, what's blocking boats now then?
Well, when we
I
put that
don't
to...
know, Adam.
Can't see.
So when we had Rumpus, this guy on screen, Tinchin, over a barrel on this exact subject, that's where he had to concede that when he was arguing for boats and buildings being blocked at the Isle of Man, then he was talking about a geometric horizon, which moments earlier in the same discussion, he'd disclaimed we would never ever see. It only exists in the maths. So when I asked, well, what were we looking at the geometric horizon for in the Isle of Man discussion? Oh, well, then we were talking about the geometric horizon, what Earth curve that blocked the Isle of Man. So when it's needed to be a physical geometric obstruction to boats and buildings, that would be your perspective limitation we call the horizon, they'll say it's Earth curve, and it's a physical leading edge of the ball blocking a boat. But then when you point out that that physical edge that they say blocks boats is beyond where it could physically be, because the hill they're saying it is has moved beyond the thing it's supposed to block, hills don't do that, their response is, well, we don't ever see Earth curve. It's refracted. So what's blocking the boats and buildings? Refraction. So not Earth curve then. Now it's taken, I kid you not, 3 years for this to sink into the dumb ballers. And I'm going to be harsh with you guys watching who still bark off refraction at us. From day one, that was in there for you to undo your own model. The moment you say refraction, it means you haven't got Earth curve. Now, I realise that some of you still say, oh, look at the bendy cranes. You're all dumb. 3 years is too long for me to say, no, it's them fighting their cognitive bias. It can't make sense to them because it would mean relinquishing Earth curve. Yeah, 3 years later, if you're still listening to this and barking out refraction, you are stupid. It destroys your
Yeah,
model.
they're also throwing all the angles.
Jorge first.
Go on, John.
Jorge first.
I was just wondering, how can you have a sphere without curvature?
You can't. We haven't. They've incorporated sphere curvature from flat Earth measurements. Go ahead, John.
I was going to say they've also thrown out all the angle measurements they claim to take from eye level, because their dip angle corrections that they claim are on a globe. They threw all that out when they said refracted.
Exactly. All of the corrections are gone. How's that geometric horizon working out for you there, Rufy? Good? Yeah? You can correct that bent line as an angle? No, definitely not. Yeah, it all went to hell in a handbag the moment you said that the line you typically use as a straight line to claim you've got Earth curve at the end of it might be needing correction later on for dip if you're doing celestial navigation on a flat plane that you say is a sphere. Then that bent line's going to be a major problem for you. Because if you can never see physical geometry, it only exists in your maths, then what are you looking at through the sextant? The horizon? Not your geometric horizon, I'm afraid. Just a flat plane representing the level surface with a correction to it. That's it. Straight lines and angles. Can't be done if everything's refracted, as you say it is on a globe. What is it? No Atmo day? You know when I say, what is it, no Atmo day? In case anybody doesn't know why I say that, that's what they told us year one of the Black Swan. Look, you can't have a geometric horizon in this position. Yeah, we're not expecting to see geometric horizons. What is it, no Atmo day? Said the ballers. Not realising that by pointing out we've always got atmosphere, that means you'll never see Earth curve. Ever. So what's blocking that boat and building? Well, refraction. So not proving Earth curve then? Not a tangent point to a sphere then? Not a straight line you can correct for dip then? Hey, Rufy, how's it working out? Occasionally, Adam bores me with some of your messages you send, and do we chuckle? We all laugh at you, Rufy. Some of us pity you, but most of us laugh at you. Just so you know. So I shouldn't be doing in-jokes, really. It's bad fare.
Ballers in the background going.
Okay.
So basically, what they did by throwing away the physicality of their geometric horizon is basically make our point, which is the horizon is just an optical phenomenon, by saying refraction for all these years after the Black Swan.
Yes.
So
to conclude, if the horizon is refracted, it is not geometric, and the claim of Earth curve is a geometric claim. What's geometric? Well, Earth measurement. So it's an Earth measurement claim that goes away the moment you say refraction. Okie doke. Any more on this? Sorry to cut you off, Chocolate.
But do they? Really, I don't think they. I don't think they really get that though. I don't think they really get that though. Or either they just want to try to deny they don't get it, because they always try to squirt around it and say, but. I don't think they really get
But the reason they don't get it is because we had that beautiful argument called the Black Swan, with a picture that shows a horizon way further than it's supposed to be if the Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles. Even funnier than the refraction comments were all the comments about the horizon and why it's not there. Why? I mean, how many of them there are? Because apparently There was like 7 of them after that. It's like, what are you guys talking about? Your horizon, according to your map, is supposed to be 1.2 miles away off of 1 foot height, observer height. So it's not there. What's the problem? Oh, we've never seen it. We can't measure it. We've got an atmosphere. I mean, that's what we heard. It's insane. If you haven't heard those episodes, please go back 3 years and listen to that. Listen to the arguments that these guys gave us after the Black Swan. Just go ahead. Enjoy yourself. It's fun.
You've got whole societies believing in a thought experiment that cannot be backed up with any physicality.
So what's this video?
Well, how could it be at below sea level?
I'll just give you a quick shout out. So, shout out, almost 60 people watching. Wonderful. 10 minutes into the show. Couldn't be happier. Please share the show. The only reason we've got that number is because people have shared it and people have come by way of those shares. So if you've just joined us, thank you very much for joining us. Please smash that share button. Hopefully we'll get to 100. Maybe like yesterday, 120 people watching. It'd be great if we can get those numbers to remain consistent. Anywho, I'm going to get you to immediately disappear, lowering the numbers by letting, for about the 10th time, Neil deGrasse Tyson on his Star Talk channel know that at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. And we are going to be covering a video that 10th Man has dug out for us today because of a comment that was made at the end of Ballbusters, I think when the recording had ceased. And that was in regards to getting nothing out of nothing, or something out of nothing, or something out of something. I don't really follow, but apparently it's a Neil deGrasse Tyson rhetoric, therefore going to be heliocentric in origin. But because it's come from a ether believer, am I right in my vague understanding of why we're playing this today?
I wasn't on that show, but based on what Neil and D-Rose said, an ether believer used the same argument. That's all I know.
Okay, Neil, D-Rose, any chance you can give my live audience a summary of why we're playing this? Because then it'll contextualise it better than I.
I'll do it briefly. Neil, are you there? If you're not there, you could do it too. But
Neil
me
will
and Neil
definitely
were,
interrupt, even though he's not here. He'll find a way.
we were on the Ballbusters Live QE thing, and it was ending off, and it was clearly, explicitly explained how ether doesn't exist. Yada yada yada. The whole shebang. Even the double talk was exposed with wits and everything, and it was all, this one particular person at the ending when QE signing off, he interjects and comes in assertively saying, well, what about, what do you mean? I mean, is it a possibility that maybe, nothing can come from something and something can come from nothing? And, maybe it's something that you can't see, but, it may exist. And me and Neil pretty much, told him to shut up, get out of here with that nonsense and everything. And he was really trying to intellectually explain this, but he didn't realize how retarded he sounded. So his main issue was, well, who knows? Maybe something from nothing is actually nothing from something, and maybe something from nothing is nothing from something. I mean, how do we know? Can you break down? And him and Adam got into it with the atomic theory, and he basically tried to tell Adam that he's, pretty much disrespecting the entire atomic theory, and how can he disprove it? How can we prove it or disprove it? Maybe it's there, maybe it's not. So that's what it was.
Adam?
And the guy sounded like Rodney Dangerfield through the whole thing.
I think Adam's picked up the ball where you've just dropped it. Not dropped it, popped it down, tossed it to him. Go ahead, Adam.
The main crux of what was being presented to us was, and that we agreed to the first premise, that the opposite of something is nothing. But then it was pointed out that it's ridiculous to have nothing. You can't just be nothing. So therefore, nothing must actually mean something. That was the starting premise to move forwards into a way in which you can accept that nothing is something, and that something should be ether.
Chuck, we're at it again.
Indeed we are.
This time, I just want to talk about nothing.
Oh my God. A show of... What's the deal with nothing? We're doing a show about nothing. All right, that's... You want to talk about nothing?
I might as well say it again, just so if you're in the live chat, take this opportunity. There's the link. It's whizzing on by. Go and let Tyson know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me.
So now, let's do this. So
it's official. We're married now. You know that, right?
Somebody hands you a birthday gift,
right?
And it's a box, and you open it, and and there's nothing in it, you'd say there's nothing in it.
Okay. So I can tell straight away that he's going to mix colloquial terms versus hyper-specific terms. So in a colloquial sense, if you get a box that's got physically nothing in it, well, it's not nothing because it's got substance inside the box. It's not a vacuum. It's not completely devoid of anything. But that's what he's saying colloquially at this point. So that's obviously the main preface for what he's going to go forth with. So I might as well call it straight away. Colloquial term, nothing means empty box. Okay.
If it's empty, you'd say there's nothing in it, correct?
Yes, and I'd also probably say, again, really, guys? Again?
First time he's made me laugh.
With the empty box thing?
I don't want to get into your social, personal, family issues.
Yeah, that was a good joke. Again, lads, again! Implying that he's got multiple occasions that he's had an empty box given him. Good joke. First time you made me laugh. Chuck, good job.
Okay. How your family members treat you, that's another show.
Okay. All right.
So of course, there's air in the box. But generally, we think of air and nothing else as nothing, right?
Right.
There's nothing in the box. But of course, there's air in the box.
Right.
And I think we think of air as nothing because you can't see the air. Air is just molecules, right? We have oxygen molecule, 2 oxygen atoms together make the oxygen molecule. We have 2 nitrogen atoms together make the nitrogen molecule. That's 98%, 99% of all the molecules you are inhaling. There's others.
I wonder how that's achieved, given that this guy thinks there's a sky vacuum. Wouldn't all of the gas at high pressure be dispersing into the sky vacuum that you think that rockets are travelling through, Neil? I mean, just as an aside from this description that would need containment.
A little bit of CO2,
right.
Trace amounts of other atoms and molecules. But the main ones are oxygen and nitrogen, and they're transparent. So you don't think of it as being something. But you could have another gas in there like smoke. You open up the box.
What?
Did he just say smoke as a gas? Correct me if I'm wrong, Adam. Smoke would be tiny little particulates like carbon and various other stuff that's suspended because it's so small in the gas particles in the air, but it's not in and of itself a gas, is it?
No, because they're particles. That's why it's opaque, as he describes, because they are large enough. They're small particles, but they're still big enough to be seen, aren't they? You're seeing the effects of them as they block light, as opposed to let light just pass through like your normal air. But yeah, it's not. They're small bits of.
There's smoke.
It consists of hot gas and particles, doesn't it? Is the point.
Right, indeed.
So not a good example of gas is what I'm saying. It's the worst example you could pick because it's true. Specifically, it's not.
Right, but at this point, it's we're not majoring on the minors. We're marking his card at this stage because we're unfamiliar with this video.
In the box,
right?
Okay, because you can see it. So often, what we sense or what we declare is or is not is based on just how our senses receive the environment. You go up to a window and you say, "Oh, the window is transparent." Yes. Well, if you could see with microwaves,
right,
the whole room would be transparent because microwaves pass right through the walls. You know how you know that? Because you pull out your cell phone, which uses microwaves, and you get a signal even if you're in the bathroom.
Not with my carrier.
Oh, you need special bathroom coverage.
Just trying to tell you.
Objection.
Go ahead.
He needs to be exampling nothing. He's only exampling something. I don't know where he said he was going to talk about nothing, and all he's done is talk about something.
Yeah, but he's lined up a couple of principles, so we'll see where he's going.
All right. So how many molecules are there? So there's about 10 to the 25th power, one with 25 zeros worth of air molecules in a cubic meter. Okay,
that's a lot.
A little bigger than a cubic yard. Okay,
that's a lot of molecules.
That's a lot of molecules. Even that number has a name, a septillion. Septillion. That's right.
Okay. So still on point, John. Yes, we're not describing anything other than substance, stuff with substance. Yet to have nothing description so far.
So now, you want to do better than that. Let's create a laboratory vacuum. Okay?
Okay.
If air is something more than nothing, then let's get rid of the air. Let's go ahead and do that. So let's get
out.
Let's get one of the best laboratory vacuums there is.
Why? See, any lab vacuum, I think the best vacuum achieved is 10 to the minus 6 torr. That's the best vacuum available on Earth currently. Okay, it might be wrong. It might be 10 to the minus 7. Doesn't matter. Anyway, if the sky was a vacuum, just always, that would be a more powerful, more potent vacuum, if that's not the incorrect verbiage, for this to take place. So you're saying, if I want to vacate a septillion of anything, gas, from a box, then what I need to do is create an area of empty space for that gas to vacate into. In other words, there's nothing in it, therefore I've vacated a square meter if it was the best vacuum on Earth by having 10 to the minus 6 space pumping out all the gas that was in existence, therefore I've got an empty space, a nothing. Okay? That's what we'd have on Earth at ground level if the sky was a vacuum. Because it's claimed to be a more powerful vacuum than the best vacuum we can achieve with 6-foot thick walls here on Earth. So automatically, all of the gas that we were breathing would vacate into the sky vacuum instantaneously. In fact, it would have never developed as gas pressure in the first place if the sky was a vacuum, because that would mean ground level was a vacuum at the start of the process, and every gas particle that ever came out of the ground would immediately vacate into the area of volume, never to return. So we would never develop gas pressure. He's saying, if I want to make an empty space, I just make a vacuum, and then I can create an empty space with no particles in it. Right, well, the sky would do that to everything we're breathing. Go ahead, John.
But a 10 to the negative 6 torr vacuum is not an empty space without particles in it. There is still a pressure in it. It's called 10 to the negative 6 torr pressure. So
Yes.
there's still particles in it. He's not example to nothing yet.
It's going to
He's
get there.
example to differential pressure.
Sorry, John.
He hasn't yet.
No, it's going to get closer and closer, but he leaves a few gems that go against the official globe claim while he does it up until the end.
Okay? So that can pump out the molecules and leave you with about 10 billion molecules per cubic meter.
Wait a minute. After you suck
Yes.
everything out,
That's kind of the best you can do with
that's the best you could do. You still got 10 billion.
I'm sorry, Chuck. I took it from 10 to the 25th power to 10 to the 10th power.
I'm just saying. Are we using a Dyson? Okay. Are we using a Dyson? Because maybe
Dyson vacuum would totally kick ass.
Right, we might do better. Okay.
So again, if the sky was...
He's being honest, isn't he?
Yeah, but we can
He's claimed
conclude
that-
with that honesty. The conclusion being that if the sky was a more potent vacuum than that, we'd have no gas to breathe.
Let's call Dyson, see if they'll sponsor this bit.
Exactly.
Okay. I'm sorry you're not happy with 10 billion molecules per cubic meter when we started with 10 septillion. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. So is that nothing, you might ask? Okay. Well,
no.
Let's forget laboratory vacuums. Let's leave Earth and go into
Imagine, instead of using many appliances.
Woo! He's leaving Earth.
space.
Let's leave Earth now.
I quite like that Freudian advert. Imagine.
So do I, right? That was perfect timing. Imagine.
Okay, so according to Tyson, in his hypothetical description being disseminated to Chuck here, we've left Earth that has gas pressure. Okay? So when we left Earth, did we wave goodbye to the gas pressure at the Kármán line? So it just sort of hung around. We went onwards because there's no containment in a sphere Earth sky vacuum heliocentric model of a globe to contain the gas that we're going to leave. So when we leave Earth, as he's just described it, why doesn't the gas also do that? Because we're about to visit a sky vacuum, aren't we? In space. That's what he's just said. So if we can go visit the sky vacuum, so can every molecule of gas that's at pressure. If this hypothetical example was true, we'd all be dead. We'd have no gas to breathe because all the gas would also vacate Earth, like we're claimed to be doing in this example. Go on.
I'm sorry. I was just gonna say they don't wave goodbye to the gas pressure. They salute, like the stop motion astronaut that they put up there. They salute.
That's 1,000 times less dense than the best laboratory vacuums. That has about 10 million molecules per cubic meter.
So what would happen to all the gas we're breathing if that was the case? We would all be dead and have no gas to breathe. That's why space is fake. That's why we disseminate that on a daily basis. Because while you can just, without any qualms whatsoever, just go, you know, a really high Tor vacuum that we can create. Yeah, the vacuum that's just above your head is much more powerful. Oh, really? So I'm breathing and above my head is a vacuum. But in laboratory conditions, we need 6-foot walls to achieve that. I'm pretty sure we'd all be dead if that was the case, Tyson, because if gas is going to vacate from the high pressure of our atmosphere into the 10 to the minus 6 Tor, 6-foot walls, if there's the tiniest of gaps, then no containment whatsoever isn't going to keep gas here. We'd all be dead. It would never develop gas pressure.
We just dropped by a factor of 1,000.
Can we just check his claim, Nathan? I don't think his claim's right. Because I worked this out years ago, didn't we? If he's saying in space, there's still 1 million in a meter cube.
Yes.
Nah, it was because it was about a third. Because I had to work it out to say you can't have it in a meter cubed. You have to have one molecule in 3 meters cubed.
Yes, I remember you telling me that. It was me who asked you to quantify it, if memory serves me.
Yeah.
And I was like, in a meter. I specifically asked you for a meter cube. You went away and did the maths, and you were like, I can't give it you back that way because there'd be nothing at 10 to the minus 17.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need a bigger space to at the vast quantities and minimal quantities, I should say. You'd need a 3 meter space, as you've just described. I can't remember this. You did the maths, so you can remember it. But I do remember asking you, and you saying it's not possible. I've got to increase the amount of space per meter to 3 in order to have one molecule in it.
I've just double checked. I did a quick Google search. Molecules per meter cubed in space. On average, there is 0.3 atoms per cubic meter. So I'm right. It is. You need 3 cubic meters to get one molecule. So I'm not sure what numbers he's quoting there because I worked it out and Google's confirmed. Like I said years ago, your request and
I can tell you why he's doing this. Do you want to know why? In terms of the definition of where the vacuum begins, it's not just me that says hypothetically the vacuum of space would start at sea level. Although I didn't phrase it that way earlier. That's how I'm phrasing it now. Right? In other words, if the sky was a vacuum, the first particle of gas comes out of the ground, immediately vacates into the 10 to the minus 17 Tor vacuum, never to return. Okay, who else says that? Or, more accurately, where did I get the original notion from prior to me using it as an example of why we wouldn't have gas if the sky was a vacuum? Well, NASA arbitrarily describes space starting at sea level. That's how they define it. So you've got varying different scales of how much vacuum there is starting at sea level. In other words, officially, space starts at sea level. So that's one way to get around my argument if you think about it in those contexts, or that context. So I say, well, if the sky was a vacuum, we'd have a sky vacuum at sea level. No way we'd breathe because we'd be in the vacuum. Well, NASA arbitrarily put the scale of the vacuums that I can't remember who it was that asked this, it might have been Ballbusters or yesterday's show, but someone asked what a high vacuum was. I'm like, well, an arbitrarily given scale that is ascribed to how much a quantity of particulates in a meter squared, as we've just given it, would be called if you give it a name. Well, high, low, medium, extreme. But then you've just got to have a number next to it on a scale. But NASA's scale starts at sea level. Isn't that nuts? Space starts at sea level.
Nathan, we're not done with levels of vacuum. This is just the first part of space with that last statement he said. He's going to take us to different aspects of vacuums in space. This can get quite interesting.
I appreciate that, but what I'm saying is, even though that is exactly where he's taking it, where the arbitrarily described scale starts can be used with a distance that he just takes and applies to that scale and then gives you a number based on that arbitrary scale. So it doesn't matter what number he gives. He could, if he was pushed, say, oh yeah, that would be at, gets his calculator out, oh, that would be at 400 feet. So you tell him what the concentration of gases at 400 feet are and how that only goes down by a tiny amount on the scale. Yeah, but that's at this level of the space. Obviously, Earth's in space. You can't say it doesn't start at sea level. The whole thing's in space, would be their explanation. But it means that he can slide this scale anywhere he likes. Correct? 100 people watching. Woohoo!
But
Well, he's got a very liberal slide, as you'll find out. Go on, John.
I was going to say, if there was a heliocentric space for gas to fill, then it would. So you wouldn't even be able to give that scaling value.
Yeah, he's not doing this in line with the second law of thermodynamics, is he?
Because there's... I'm sorry. I didn't know you'd be that hard to please, Chuck.
I'm trying to get to nothing, man.
We're on our way there. Oh, by the way, there is the very best vacuum there ever was on Earth, and it is the track that the hadrons travel in the Large Hadron Collider in the CERN particle accelerator in Switzerland. CERN, CERN, acronym. The Center for European Nuclear Research. Okay.
Right.
And or research nucleaire. It's France, so they got to flip the order.
Research nuclear. Nuclear.
So
I cannot believe there is no smoke.
So he's dropping this little nonsensical segue in so that you forget what he's exampling. So he's talking about vacuums in the Hadron Collider, just so we, the audience on my channel, keep on track with what this nonsensical segue is going to hopefully distract you away from.
Looking here.
All right. So it turns out that vacuum is the best ever made, and that's a better vacuum than in interstellar space. Interplanetary space. Wow. So you want the most...
See? Interplanetary. Hang on a second. So a very wide difference between those two things in terms of his model and his scales that he's laying down for how much of a difference there will be between these two vacuums. So he's saying that, at the interplanetary scale, there's only a smaller differential compared to what the vast reaches beyond the Oort cloud. Like I said earlier, he can slide this scale anywhere he likes. And with that little slip of the tongue, everything in between those two is true for where he scales this vacuum. Meaningless, right? I don't know if that was an accidental slip, but it means that his scale can now sit anywhere, can't it?
Nothing place in the entire solar system is in the tube where they accelerate the particles, because they don't want the particles accidentally hitting some other particle when it's trying to hit the target that you have that's going to probe the origins of the universe and looking for, exotic...
Right, no. Smashing stuff together doesn't probe the origins of the universe. I mean, you've arbitrarily...
What is he talking about?
Oh, Neil, tell us all about CERN.
I was going to say, what's the nonsense he's talking about? Not even making any sense. He said Interstellar. He's talking about a movie.
A region. Anyway, that aside, he's talking about smashing particles together. Yeah, particle accelerators have existed for a very long time. The fact that they've got an absolutely massive one, right, that was peddled as creating the end of the world when they first turned it on. Yeah, this death cell, if you remember from Lawrence Krauss, if you go back and listen to Lawrence Krauss's version of the death cell, yeah, they did that with CERN. Yeah, just the same old peddled nonsense to keep you fear-based with a little bit of mind control along the way. So we are going to be discovering the origins of the universe. The answers to the ontological primitives will be found at CERN. How so? We're going to smash stuff together. All right.
How could they build a contraption on Earth and smash stuff together and at the same time say everything came from nothing?
hold on a second. Let me qualify the extra most exciting bit. They smash them together really, really, really fast. And then they look at the dots and lines on the monitors that show the stuff that's come out after the collision for a tiny amount of time. You know, they've got really sophisticated cameras with a great big ring array of magnets. It's amazing stuff. But they smash them together really fast. Like they hurtle them around in a circle over and over again, building the speed, and then smash them. Rah! Like Hulk.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I've seen it. It's to demonstrate a mini Big Bang. I get what they're trying to do, but if everything came from nothing, what was there to smash?
You're making this more complicated than it needs to be.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Firing stuff at high speeds, therefore beginnings of the universe explanations. With all this drama, how can you decry that we're finding out the beginnings of the universe when we Hulk smash these particles together? I mean, it's just a bit of an outrage from your 10th. I mean, I'm getting a bit sick of it, I've got to be honest. Don't decry the drama of this particle accelerator.
I want to decry it. They seem to have gone to a heck of a lot of trouble. This is the pinnacle of technology, which becomes confusing if I could just read the paragraph, the largest vacuum system in the world. So with a total of 104 kilometers of piping under vacuum, the vacuum system of the LHC is among the largest in the world, insulating vacuum equivalent to some 10 to the minus 6 millibars. I won't go on too much. So the remaining 54 kilometer of pipes under vacuum are the beam pipes through which the LHC has two beams travel. The pressure of these pipes is in the order of 10 to the minus 11 millibar, a vacuum almost as rarefied as that found on the surface of the moon. Now, they say they're doing all these still pressure. Why didn't they just use the spacesuits that NASA used if you need to defend that pressure? Surely that fabric would have been just as good to cope with that pressure change if the astronauts could go there. Why do you need all this? This is just totally contradictory in terms of what they're claiming themselves, in terms of the technology required to have those pressure differentials, yet you can have it with a fabric suit and some nice moon boots.
Got really clever zips and Velcro. Have you not seen the zips?
But that, Adam, that's the funny thing. When I heard him say, "Oh, if we leave Earth, it's 1,000 times more powerful than the pressure we have here." First thing I thought was, well, if we can't achieve that pressure there, but we're sending people there, how the hell do you test the suits, the special suits that these people wear? They're super suits, apparently. Because how the hell do you test that if you can't even get to where that's supposed to be at its highest functionality? I don't get it.
I just looked it up.
Obviously,
Hold on. I've just looked it up. It says they were thoroughly tested chocolate. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, the testing center. The testing center was in California in the Hollywood basement.
Oh, yeah.
As I say,
Well, I
they
think
invented
this is
Velcro.
good.
They've got exceptional zip technology. I mean, what more do you want? If it's good enough for Sigourney Weaver, it's good enough for NASA.
Well, they gave us Tang.
I think it's an outrage that this dude is mentioning CERN, the place where they're, actually doing physical demonstrations, if nothing else, when he's an astrophysicist that believes in a space that gas isn't filling. I think it's absurd that he's even allowed to mention it.
They're making black holes at CERN. My son told me that.
Okay, so we're all clear. Zips and Velcro and CERN is legit. We all agree? We all agree? We continue?
It gets worse. Keep going.
Well, I'm just resizing my screen slightly.
I'll slow it down for you.
Particles that might even include dark matter. But anyhow, let's go from interplanetary space to interstellar space.
Okay.
That's even less. Now we're down to 500,000 particles per cubic meter.
Okay, that's
500,000.
that's pretty wild. All right, only a half of 500,000.
500,000, correct.
We started at a septillion.
Correct. And these are left over. It's a
cubic meter.
It's a reminder that the universe, there's stuff in the universe, all right? And
we're never going to get to nothing. Okay, just a reminder. Let Neil deGrasse Tyson know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. There's a link going by in the live stream. Was someone trying to interrupt that a bit for a point?
Yeah, just
I would like
Adam, then John. Go ahead.
I just showed the nonsense of how they, if you believe their claims that they've been to the moon, the contradictions and the impossibility of the pressures they've done. But at least in their claims there, they claim they could have gone to the moon to measure those pressures. We're now talking interstellar. Now, nobody's been there to measure this, to validate it. So he is now this is just complete horsebucky made up to suit, as you said, his description of a sliding scale, which will eventually lead to the admission that there is absolutely no definition of nothing. Even the deepest, darkest bit of space has got something.
Okay, just a quick shout out, almost 110 people watching. Woohoo! Be great to get over 120 people as we're only 40 minutes in. Still got a while left on the live show. Please smash the share button. And if you've just joined us, thank you very much for hitting the share button that someone else shared. And thank you for the people who shared it originally to get us up to 106 people. So please share the show if you've not done so already. Hopefully we'll get over 125.
Nathan, there's just a little help for the audience to grow. There's plenty of space for people to join in.
Plenty of negative space.
Yeah.
Go on, John.
I was going to say, Adam concluded it. He's not demonstrated nothing to claim that there's nothing existing for him to explain it. So, yeah, all of his point that he made in the beginning is invalid. He's done.
And there are places where it has collected and gathered. That's where you get stars and planets and people. Where it hasn't collected and it hasn't gathered, it's much more scattered, much more tenuous. Okay? So that's interstellar space. Now, what would you imagine would have less than interstellar space?
Intergalactic
space.
Or interuniversal after that.
Because galaxies are gatherings of matter, right? So there, it would be hard to find a few atoms of anything for every 10 cubic meters.
Okay. So we've already covered this in advance.
That's so, but it's still not nothing.
Excuse me, I'm on my way there. Damn, you are the most impatient. This thing only lasts 10 minutes and you can't even just...
I'm just saying, we're all the way out into intergalactic space, okay?
Yes.
I am light years away from home, and it's like driving between here and, like, Vegas. And
not really, Chuck. But there we go. I mean, this is good filler, I guess.
I mean, there's just a lot of nothing going on, and I'm still not at nothing, though.
You're still not at nothing. Okay, so now... So rather than give real live examples, let's give examples that we would imagine you could produce, which is get rid of those 500,000 atoms per 10 cubic meters. Just figure out a way to not have them. Okay. So now.
So you guys hear that?
I agree with Chuck. There's nothing going on here.
I heard it. I heard it, Chaco.
Hold on. Just for Chuck's benefit. That's how it's done. Yeah, and Neil just did it. That's how you make people laugh. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
I'll let Chuck.
Well, did you hear him say, let's stop talking about things that we can really know, prove, or whatever what he said. Let's go into the imaginary and think about stuff. I mean, just rewind it. Listen to him.
No, that was
like,
right.
let's stop talking about real stuff.
That was the reason I paused it. Exactly. So, okay. So we're struggling to get to a point, even in my heliocentric world, where you've got one molecule in 3 cubic meters. You've still got something. Okay. Well, it's a lot easier if we now take you to Unicorn Land. Okay? We all in Unicorn Land? Excellent. Now, in Unicorn Land, it's really easy to have an area of completely nothing. You with me now? You with me now? I've got an example that's got exactly what you've asked for within the example that we don't experience. Everyone following along? Good. Now I may continue.
Now we have a completely empty box.
Wow! So if I was trying to example unicorns' existence and I struggle to get there, and I go, okay, now just imagine unicorn land, and we all got unicorns now. It's how easy that was. It was just that easy, wasn't it, Tyson? That's amazing. Yeah, this isn't one of your best magic tricks, Tyson. I gotta be honest.
Empty of all matter.
Okay.
Now we ask, is that nothing?
Yeah, because there's nothing in the box.
Except quantum physics.
Oh, God.
Hold on. Do quantum physics apply in unicorn land? Anybody? Help me out quick. I hadn't thought
If
this through, had I?
required to maintain a heliocentric paradigm, they may be.
Maybe. Hold on.
I don't
It
know
does or
what,
it doesn't.
what quantum physics is. It a textbook he's put in there, or
I'll give you an example. In the same way that the second law of thermodynamics doesn't apply to the Earth, do quantum mechanics apply to unicorn land?
Well, quantum foam applies in unicorn land.
I knew there
if
was
you want to
something.
know, it's
That's what it is.
quantum
That's what it
quantum
is.
field theory.
Yeah, that's what it
If
is,
I
John. You're
don't
absolutely
want-
right. Glad you're here. Quantum foam. That's what happens in unicorn land, right? So when you were asking me for the existence of unicorn, and I took you on a merry dance about gravity, and then how quantum foam links gravity to the existence of unicorns in unicorn land, you only needed to imagine the unicorn land, and then you've got exactly what you needed. Wasn't that easy? Look, let's have a good laugh about it.
no? What he needs though is something to manifest from nothing. So even when you've got a perfect vacuum, he's going to require something to manifest from nothing, which is part of this theoretical quantum bit he's going to talk about. So that even when you've got nothing, you can have something. Is where I think he's going.
Such a thing as virtual particles that come into existence and then go out of existence in less time than you can actually measure their existence. And totally empty space is seething.
Is that true?
Yeah.
It sounds like
Hold on.
that sounds like you didn't measure its existence. So then I guess they covered that with the word virtual. I don't know.
With virtual particles.
All right, we better actually mind our
Oh,
P's and
QE,
Q's now.
he'll help.
Well, he might tell us off for getting all this wrong. So let's just.
No, I'm sure this is part of their theory. It's part of the making up of some of the dark matter calculations. So that these are constantly in and out. So they will contribute to the matter of the universe. It's theoretical. It's not real. Like I said, it's not real quantum mechanics as far as I'm aware. It's there.
It's not. It's since they have a violation of the uncertainty principle, they create virtual particles to map their position through space. That's where the virtual particle comes from. Because they have to know each. In the quantum foam, yes.
Hello, Quantum Racer. First of all, as soon as you arrived, lots of people started spamming emoji moods in the chat. So obviously everyone's pleased to see you here, which I am too. Hello, first of all.
Have you had breakfast before you tell us about this?
Nah, I just woke up.
Oh, brace.
Okay, no swearing. There's 111 people watching, so big shout out to you. Let's see if we can get over 120 before QE swears.
All right. Can you rewind a little bit? Because, like I said, I just woke up. Give 10 seconds.
You want a recap from us, or
nah?
Just the last bit.
There's such a thing as virtual particles that come into existence and then go out of existence in less time than you can actually measure their existence.
All right. You didn't go far enough. He said quantum mechanics. Number one, that's not quantum mechanics. Quantum field theory. Listen up. Quantum field theory. Oh, shit's at 60. This is where he thinks he identified quantum mechanics. He must have watched this because he uses this example all the time and train wrecks himself. This is quantum field theory. What is quantum field theory? Anyone?
It sounds like made up nonsense, probably.
This is a combination of quantum mechanics with shotgun marriage to special relativity, general relativity, Maxwell's electrodynamics, and classical Newtonian mechanics. Shotgun marriage between all of those. The problem is, quantum mechanics debunked every single one of those suitors. That's the problem. That's one big problem. Virtual particles. Think about that. Say that phrase over to yourself in your head. Virtual particles. What's that mean?
Well, let me just go
You
by
can
what Neil
virtually
deGrasse
measure
Tyson
actual-
just said.
Actual.
I was just going to say, based on what Tyson just said, it's a particle that exists for such a limited time that you couldn't even measure its existence, which does kind of make me question whether or not you'd know it existed if it doesn't exist long enough for you to measure it. How would you know that it did exist to say that it had an existence that you couldn't measure? But there we go. That's just what he just said.
But it enables you to accept the fact that it could have existed. It's just that unfortunately we don't have the method, the scientific method to measure it right now.
I'm
a bad boy. I'm
But if
sorry.
you
You want me to read the definition?
But if-
Well, they know it has to be there, not because they measured it, but because they know how much energy they require to measure it.
So it had to.
I've got.
But if you have a theory,
So it had not.
Would
had
you like
to
me
not
to
be,
read the definition?
just want to unpack what Arwin just said. So it had to not be there. It had to not be there, is what you're saying, Arwin. Correct?
Right, because they don't have enough energy to measure it. Right?
I love this. This is right up your street, isn't it, Arwin?
Yep.
Go on
Yeah,
then.
I got some more
but if
on
you
this.
have
Hold on. Someone, I
sorry,
think
I
John
got a
wanted to
little
read
bit-
the definition. Was it you, refractive curvature? Someone said, do you want me to
No,
read it?
I have the definition.
Yeah, go on then, Neil.
In theoretical
you-
physics, quantum field theory is a theoretical framework that combines classical field theory, special relativity, and quantum mechanics. QFT is used in particle physics to construct physical models of subatomic particles, and in condensed matter physics to construct models of quasi-particles.
Radio check. Radio
That's
check.
funny.
Yeah, you opened your mic just as Neil
Virtual
said.
and quasi and
Just as Neil said, quasi particles. You opened your mic, QE, so we had the echo of God on the words quasi particles.
So I got a lot more on this, but I'm going to hold it back for now. Okay? But you
Okay.
get the
Well,
idea. This isn't quantum
The
mechanics.
point of what he's trying to make, though, I think, is where Nathan's been alluding. He's got a sliding scale. I think he's trying to show old Chuck that essentially there is nothing such as nothing. Yeah, that even when there's nothing, you have quantum something that you can't measure quick enough to confirm that you have a quantum something. But just to maintain his paradigm, he's always got something in his back pocket to mean that nothing doesn't mean nothing.
Go on, John.
Maybe I'll give you a little bit.
yeah, but if you want to,
Hold on. Refracted's tried to get a word in 3 times now. Go on, Refracted.
but if you have this model that they're claiming they have, right, and you have to know every state to be able to create this model in QFT or whatever they're claiming, how are you going to do that with the uncertainty principle?
I wouldn't just cover
Quasi
that.
particles
It's
that
got to,
appear and disappear in quantum foam.
exactly. That's what Arwin just explained. The limited energy means that you
No,
have
I
to.
said that to begin with, and I was told no.
Well,
Oh, I
obviously,
agreed with you straight
when
away.
you asserted it, you were asserting it as though you were devil's advocate position for it to be real, and obviously we're going to shoot it down. Now we're trying to put together the nonsense in a coherent way so that we can understand the nonsense, but we're just not at this particular moment in time pulling it apart as nonsense. We're just clarifying the nonsense. When you said it, it was different. You postulated it positively.
This thing is hilarious, man. This is like going back and forth about Quasimodo, Hunchback of Notre Dame, and the hump on his back was filled with yellow and green confetti. And just going back, no, it wasn't confetti. It was actually rice grains. No, it wasn't rice grains. It was almond chips. This is the stupidest stuff that gets aired. It's like we need to make up our own misinformation and fact check committee.
Brother.
Hold on. What you're witnessing is D Rose, right, who's a man who's listening to us, going through the weeds of the nonsense that's being disseminated here about nothing and space-time. Okay, fine. But what D Rose is illustrating to the audience is, at a point, you step back from all of it. This is heliocentric rhetoric, and go, "My God, this is such a load of old waffly nonsense, eh?" Well, you've got to have waded your way through it first to get to the other side of the lake, to step back, look at the lake, and go, "Oh my God, what a load of old nonsense that was!" Right? That's the sentiment that he's putting across, and you're just frustrated that you're actually trying to. We're trying to get into the swamp. We're diving back in here, D Rose. Let QE have his, Plus, there's a clearing in the swamp. There's a bit of clear water, and that's where QE's trying to make that clear water be realised, because they're hijacking quantum mechanics. His namesake. There's a reason why he's getting a lot of airtime. Quantum Eraser, that is, because it's his namesake for a reason, and that's what they're trying to hijack. So. There's a reason we're back in the swamp, D-Rose, as much as you want to step back and point out how nonsensical it is. They are trying to hijack reality in the form of quantum mechanics in this swampy nonsense.
I get it. And QE woke up late, so now we're going back into the swamp, stepping all in the deep piles of poop. All right.
No, not because
I got
QE's
a
up.
Nathan up there.
Go on.
You said in quantum mechanics. No, that's the switcheroo. That's this quantum field theory. That is not quantum mechanics.
Exactly. That's what I meant.
He's invoked the term quantum mechanics and he's stealing its glory.
Precisely. That's exactly what I mean. That's why QE's getting a lot of mic time, because there's a point. The clear water is the actual quantum mechanics that does exist. But that isn't what we're talking about. We're in the muddy swamp of them using those words and stealing the valor from real science. So that's what we're trying to wade through. That's why, like I say, I won't say it a third time, but yeah, well, I will. That's why QE's getting a lot of mic time. Anyway, do you want me to
carry on?
What they're doing is they're using that quantum name because it actually defeated them, but they're. Come on.
QE isn't getting any mic time. That's the problem.
Right, hold on. Stop a second, 10th and Arwin. Bloody hell, you two bickering. Arwin was right on point. I mean, I'll summarise what I got half of, which was to say that the reason they've picked up the sword, or as Adam put it, stealing the valour of the real science of quantum mechanics, is because that's the best weapon you can use. If that's what's defeating you, pick it up and use it as your own weapon. That's what Arwin's trying to say. I agree with him. But
they're like the Catholic Church using Christ on their shield.
Oh, God. Now you're just trying to... Stop that, Arwin. That's so outrageous. You're just trying to antagonise 10th now. Why did you do that?
The Catholic Church is not antagonizing.
Takes a bloody mile.
He agrees.
Give him an inch. So I side with you. So he immediately takes that as a I'm going to stick this knife straight between 10th's ribs.
What the hell are you doing, Nathan?
I'm not Catholic.
Look, you said quantum erasers is getting all this time, except he hasn't had any time. That's all I'm saying. Everyone else is talking, but you keep saying he's getting the time. So can we hear what he wanted to say?
I'm going to go with no.
Okay.
He's not had breakfast and he'll start swearing, so we're just covering for him.
Yeah, just an interesting fact. If you can remember years back, before the current ether clowns come out of the box, there was one ether clown. Do y'all remember who that was? I'll let you know. Gleam. Gleam's number one proof of the ether was, guess what?
I know, counter space.
Virtual particles, the Casimir effect. Brought to you by quantum field theory. That's all I'm going to say for now.
Okay, right. Should we rattle on a bit more with Neil deGrasse Tyson to make out anything?
And totally empty space is seething with virtual particles. Okay, so the best nothing you can ever make would have no ordinary matter, but would still nonetheless be seething with virtual particles. Okay.
Wow.
Now, let's ask a question. Suppose you could step out of our universe so that there's not even the no matter and there's not even the virtual particles.
I'm willing to do that.
Okay, so there's not even nothing.
Right.
So
I mean, I was
we
joking,
could get lazy and just call it nothing.
It's a nothing.
He used a double negative. Not nothing is something. Is Neil high right now?
No, he just used the. Don't have a go at him. He just used that. He didn't use the correct terminology. He meant anti-nothing or negative nothing. Just get off his back a little bit. Sorry, I have to try and say these things without smiling. Just get off his back, right? I'm speaking
Hang
seriously.
on. Refracted. Have you watched this video before?
Again?
Refracted. Have you watched this video
No,
before? Oh my gosh.
No, I just used to be a devout. I used to be a devout heliocentrist, so I can guess how bad
No,
it is.
your last statement is about to be realized. Go on.
Before we go on.
Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Brian.
I wanted to agree with Nathan. We now do have minus nothing. We've got a nothing which is minus the nothing of imaginary particles. So it is a minus nothing, negative nothing, because it's had the quantum particles taken away. So it is now in negative. It has that original nothingness of nothing has now got minus imaginary quantum particles.
Yeah, the nothing's got to have
A
something to
negative
expand
nothing would be
into.
something.
But John, you're right. It's just him misspeaking. So it's the negative nothing, not to be confused with the anti-nothing, because the anti-nothing would be something.
That's still two double negatives, so it'd be something.
I just love the part where empty space is seething with particles that exist so fast that we can't detect their existence. That's awesome.
Yeah. No, again, you're not unpacking what he's saying. He's just not doing. Come on, I've got to stop laughing.
We've got the paradoxes here, haven't we? Because the anti-nothing is something, but anti-something is nothing, but nothing is not nothing.
Yes, this particular nothing chocolate is teeming with stuff. That's just this level of nothing.
Oh. No, it's not teeming, it's seething.
Seething with nothing, which is something. Okay, negative nothing. We all clear? Let's continue.
Right.
But I think there's a greater nothing than even that.
Yeah, we all agree. We're holding back the laughter, but we're all in agreement here. Tyson.
And this is where I want to leave you. This is where I want to deposit you in the
greater
universe.
nothing than
you ready?
nothing.
Imagine you take away all matter.
Yeah, I'm going to hear. This is the first time Chuck's getting a rewind. Because what Chuck just did was echo our sentiments. But instead of laughing, it was in the mix of cognitive dissonance. Just listen to what Chuck just says.
This is where I want to leave you. This is where I want to deposit you in the
greater
universe.
nothing than
you ready?
nothing.
Imagine you take.
That's right, Chuck. The greater nothing than the nothing. That's right. You got it, Chuck. Yeah.
On the sliding scales of nothing, well, I used to think there was only zero. Nothing. But apparently there are scales now. So we've got a greater nothing and a negative nothing as well now.
Yeah.
It's
Hopefully
right between Neil Smoking DeGrasse's ears.
So it's qualitative nothing.
No, anti-nothing's qualitative. You can put negative nothing and nothing on a scale, but
qualitative. What?
It's quantitative, isn't it? He's trying to make a quantitative scale of nothing.
But but that's a limitation in our language. You know, to call something that you're qualifying as how much nothing, quantitative and scale worthy, is a word that the words just aren't there in our language to describe this. But I don't like it when you describe it as being quantitative or being able to even put it on a scale. You know, how much nothing versus the anti-nothing. Because anti-nothing is something. Negative nothing is something else. Because nothing's teeming with stuff.
Yeah, but is there more or less nothing in anti-nothing as opposed to...
Oh, don't convolute terms with more or less. Oh, you're just complicating things. More or less nothing. You can't have less
Nathan.
and more nothing. That's just too complicated for my brain.
Seething, Nathan, not teeming. Seething.
Seething, not teeming. What's teeming again?
So
teeming is
so what
something.
we have
Seething is nothing.
I gotcha. Seething is used in the qualification.
So what we have is Neil.
Go, John, go.
Neil can't even describe nothing. He can't even imagine nothing. Neil's failed from the first opening premise.
No, that's true. While he can't imagine there being nothing, he can disseminate how much nothing when he qualifies it on a non-scale we haven't got the language to describe, so it's not quantitative.
Take away all matter and somehow configure a way where there's not even virtual particles.
Right.
Okay. So virtual, we need to work out a way of not having the virtual particles in an area that we're imagining to begin with. So you could just say, imagine an area with nothing. Okay, I'm imagining an area with absolutely nothing. Okay, there you go. Done. Job's a good one. That's it, right? That's the end.
That's not what he asked you to do. He asked you to stop imagining the thing he asked you to imagine earlier, the imaginary particles. Are you up to that challenge? That seems a much bigger request on Neil's part.
Okay.
Well, there can't be imaginary particles in a nothing.
If you're now trying to unimagine the things you've just imagined so that you can get into his paradigm, he's got you. They were his words.
You would still have the laws of physics.
Okay.
Is a region of space nothing if the laws of nature still apply?
Well, like the second law of thermodynamics, I'm glad you mentioned an area of space where the laws of nature would or would not apply, because according to heliocentric rhetoric, Earth is in a sky vacuum, but with high pressure gas not obeying a law of nature, the second law of thermodynamics, entropy. The arrow of time would dictate that the gas would fill the availability of volume, and space, if it's what you claim the sky is a massive vacuum, a massive availability of space for that entropic law to unfold. And it doesn't. In a heliocentric world, the second law of thermodynamics does not apply to the Earth, because it can't. We'd have no gas to breathe. Shout out to Elvis Kavovic. Thank you very much for the super chat. Sounds like they are describing my valet shootout to my buddies Pseudo and Romo. Also, huge shout out to my buddy Vlad on Flat Earth. Sounds like they are describing my valet. What does that mean?
And that's someone who parks your car.
Yeah, that's a valet who parks the car. But I knew you'd like the laws of physics. It's about to get interesting. And then Dero's, your part's coming up.
Also, shout out.
Did Neil just claim that
nothing? How can the laws of physics?
Well, yeah, I was about to say. Yeah, Brian, like his laws of physics apply to his imagination now. I don't get him. He's so lost, he doesn't even know where he's at.
Yeah, useful for us.
There's no physics.
Sorry, you've tried 4 times,
no
Brian.
physics.
I've cut you off every time, and so is John. Go ahead, one more time, Brian.
Yeah, sorry. If there's nothing, then there's no physical.
There is. It's the particles that pop in and out for the time that you can't measure.
Right, it's a nothing then.
No, they're virtual. Anyway, shout out to Sasha.
It's still not physical.
You've got to get on the bus, Brian. You've got to get on the bus with us. Otherwise, it's a bumpy ride.
All right, okay. I'll go along.
It's a fun bus once you're on it, though, I promise, Brian. Shout out to Svemu, otherwise known as Sasha. Cause of nothing area is imagination. Okay, thank you for the super chat. Also, I don't know if I thanked him at the beginning, but thank you again, Elvis Kavovic, for your super chat. I don't think we deciphered what you meant by valet. If I'm not reading that or it's a mistype, I'll maybe clarify it and I'll read that out for you. Sorry, I meant wallet via a super chat. Let's just read that again. Okay. Sounds like they're describing my wallet. Gotcha. Makes a lot more sense now. Thank you for all of the super chats, Elvis Kavovic and Sasha.
Who are his friends, Pseudo and Romano?
I don't know.
Pseudo-Romanian. Shout out to my buddies Pseudo and Romano.
Sounds like lovely ladies. Shout out to Tony Wickham for hitting the super chat. Also, doesn't actually say anything. Oh, no, he does. He says, I kneel to Neil, the pseudo god. Which Neil? Anil? I also kneel to Anil.
Talking about smoking grass.
He's not talking to you. He's talking to Tyson?
Keep going.
I'm going to keep going. Thank you very much.
Still have the laws of physics.
Okay.
Is a region of space nothing if the laws of nature still apply inside that space? See, you're thinking of nothing as substance, and I'm thinking of nothing as not even anything that is anything about anything.
So laws of nature, he's kind of reified them into governing how things behave as opposed to describing how things occur. So there's a bit of a convolution there in terms of laws of nature don't make things happen. Things happen, and we describe them with the laws of nature. So he's got it backwards.
He's not. He's saying, he's asking you to consider whether the laws of nature apply in a place that ultimately the laws of nature say can't exist, i.e. space. So he's got you double ended up on it now.
But he just pulled the okie doke on Chuck, right? Because he just told Chuck, hey, you're thinking of nothing as a substance. No. You just spent this entire video trying to convince him that nothing is something. Now you're going to flip it and say that's what he's thinking about? Yo, this guy thinks he's slick, man. It's not that cute.
You caught that, Chocolate. But also, what was the quote that we always say, the anti-flat earthers say? Second law of thermodynamics does not apply to what?
Yeah, that's a quote from Rumpus. Quote, the second law of thermodynamics does not apply to the Earth.
Well, what does Neil deGrasse Tyson just saying? Except we have the laws of physics when there's nothing. What? And then Brian comes in and says, how can you have laws of physics when there's no physical?
The second law of thermodynamics does not apply to the Earth.
Well, we have you on record saying that. It's just...
Where have you got me on record saying that entropy doesn't apply to the Earth? I'd never say such a thing. The second law of thermodynamics does not apply to the Earth.
Yep, classic.
So Brian's point is strong. If it doesn't apply to the Earth where there's physical, and Tyson is saying it's out there in the non-physical and applies there, what's going on here?
He's asking the question, do the laws of nature apply out in a region that has the non-physical emptiness to describe it? Would they apply? And I think Adam's right. So we can suggest that the alternative area of space that isn't real might not have laws of nature applying to it. Well, yeah, Rumpus has told us why.
So if you systematically remove all laws of physics,
why would we do that? You see, the laws of physics aren't governing. I was right, Adam. So he's saying, if you remove how these things govern what things do, and you've got no stuff for it to be doing it to, then is that the world of nothing existing? Okay, but the laws of nature aren't governing how things behave. They're merely describing what we observe to occur always. If there was an example that he's giving us in a hypothetical world that doesn't exist to question whether or not laws of nature apply, then they wouldn't be laws if they weren't applicable. In other words, anything that violated these descriptions of how things occur would mean that they wouldn't describe how things occur, right? Go on, whoever.
But hasn't he stepped outside the universe now to say, if I'm outside the universe, which is creation, which is nature, do the laws of nature apply? And if they don't, then can I then consider that? If the laws of nature don't apply and theoretical particles don't come into existence, so that nothingness that was nothingness was something's nothingness, would that nothingness, which is the theoretical particles appear, occur in the nothingness that is not in nature, in the natural? That's where I think he stepped outside of nature now in terms of outside of the known universe, and he's asking, does it apply there now, so that he can now define nothingness?
All laws of nature. Then you have a region of, I can't even call it space, because space is a thing. Space can bend according to Einstein relativity. That's a thing.
The fabric of space.
The fabric of space, no matter what's in it, will bend with or without virtual particles. It's still a thing.
Right.
Okay? So if I get rid of all particles.
Hold up.
Yeah.
Space is length, width, and height. How does length, width, and height then?
No, it was with time, the fabric of is what he crowed in, didn't he? Can we hear it again, that?
Yeah,
Because
he
he's
did
tried to
specifically
make
qualify it.
4D
No.
physical now.
Quantum Eraser's critique is still absolutely correct because he's qualified it in Euclidean terms and then immediately strapped on pseudo-Riemannian for space-time as the consequence. So you are right in your critique, but let's listen to it again anyway, Adam. I think you're right. It does warrant another play.
Fabric of space.
The fabric of space, no matter what's in it, will bend with or without virtual particles.
Right,
it's still a thing.
Right.
Okay? So if
Why?
I get rid of all particles, get rid of the very laws that describe nature.
He's trying to reify 4D space now as a thing. Now that so that there is so all his take away all his disclaimers. Now, even if you've got no theoretical particles, that nothingness is still somethingness because it's constituted of the fabric of space-time, which is therefore now something.
Didn't say space-time. He said space.
Fabric of space. Well, I assume he means.
No, he didn't say fabric of space. His numpty partner said fabric of space. He only said space.
And according to Einstein relativity, that's a thing.
The fabric of space.
The fabric of space, no matter what's in it, will bend with or without virtual particles. It's still a thing.
Right.
Okay? So if I get rid of all particles, get rid of...
He's correct.
Why is he trying to reify that into something now when it was just a way of describing? Now it is definitively something that means it's not nothing. Even if there's no particles there, it's now something. And he's just slid that in and moved on.
A quick public service announcement. So, as always, the idea behind this is the third time I've done it, me sharing Neil deGrasse Tyson's video so that you can offer him the algorithmic love that we do not receive when you go to his video and say, at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, we responded to your video on nothing. And how seething with stuff nothing is, or teeming, depending on what you want to say. Anyway, the whole point of that is that, heaven forbid, Neil deGrasse Tyson actually took the time and trouble to respond to us, he would respond in kind and offer us, in response, the same algorithmic love we are offering from this tiny little platform that we are pushed into by YouTube. So, but for the fact that we don't receive any algorithmic love, we would encourage the people we respond to offer it in a way that we don't receive it naturally. Naturally being the algorithmic Susan that controls YouTube. Anyway, go and let Neil deGrasse Tyson know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. We responded to your nothing video, and hopefully he would do the same for us in return, or anybody else that we respond to for that matter. This has been a public service announcement by Nathan Oakley 1980 channel. Please let him know we sent you.
You know the term, nature abhors a vacuum? Well, what that means is that nature abhors a perfect vacuum. In other words, there can never be a perfect vacuum. But what he's talking about is a perfect vacuum. So the laws of nature would not apply to that because there is no nature.
Nature abhors a vacuum doesn't relate to a perfect vacuum.
Well, it has to because there is a low-grade vacuum high in the sky.
No, that's not true. You wouldn't get a straw to work.
Sorry, Nathan?
You wouldn't get a straw to work if that wasn't... If you're saying you could only have nature abhorring a perfect vacuum, how do you explain how suction works when you suck drink through a straw?
Is that a perfect vacuum?
No, that's my point.
Yeah, but deGrasse Tyson is talking about a perfect vacuum. That's what he's talking about.
Now he is. Yes, that doesn't exist even theoretically.
Okay, just let me clarify. Hold on, Brian. Let me just clarify why we're objecting, or why QE originally objected. Right? When you're describing entropy law, in this case the second law of thermodynamics, even the slightest difference in pressure will show, in this case, the arrow of time when we describe an entropic increase. Right? So the entropic increase of you filling a balloon with a tiny bit more pressure than atmospheric pressure, excuse my wordage, well, that will still have entropy take hold when you pop the balloon, won't it? You didn't need a perfect vacuum to describe the arrow of time. Okay, well, to take it to the extreme, whoever is coined as saying nature abhors a vacuum, is still true, but the arrow of time will continue even with a tiny pressure differential, just to make it a bit more, extreme in its example.
Yeah, but I have no issue with that. My point being is that what Neil deGrasse Tyson is talking about is a situation that is not present in nature, and can't be present in nature, which is a perfect vacuum.
You've missed the beginning, Brian. That's why I think there's right. So he's just spent the past whatever bit explaining why even in his heliocentric paradigm, there can't be a perfect vacuum because there's always something there in nothingness. Now he stepped outside of the universe to create conditions so that he can have this nothingness.
Yeah, but see, there's a big contradiction there then, because the laws of nature must apply then.
No, that's what he prefaced it with. If I step outside of nature, i.e. outside of the universe, and I'm looking down, I think he's become God at this point, then that space between me and the universe I'm looking at, does that have nothing in it? I think he's trying to say.
Well,
yeah, Brian, there was a point when he said that basically let's stop talking about real things and go into imagination land. That was the switch.
Yeah, but that's my point. Laws of nature can't exist in imagination land.
Yes, that's a good point.
Can't, because it's not real.
Yeah, and the reason for the switcheroo is so we can apply that to our world, like our world is imagination land. That's the whole point. But you're right, Brian.
If the very laws that describe nature, then there's not only not matter, there's not energy, there are no laws of physics, there is no time itself.
There you go. No time.
Now, Chuck, put that in your box, open it, and now you have my permission to say there's nothing in the box.
No time. You see,
no time.
It's not time anymore, is it? It's the fourth dimension of time.
Yes. That's exactly what I was going to say. So where you're taking the original convention we used to describe or quantify how much has elapsed in a period, you can say that's time stopping. No, we originally derived the convention to describe it between ourselves. That doesn't stop. Oh, but he wasn't talking about that, as Adam just pointed out. He's saying the fourth dimensional Einsteinian, capable of having bent geodesics in it, space-time, would cease to exist. It never existed in the first place. That existed only in your pseudo-geometry, because that's what it is. A pseudo-fourth dimension. So who cares? That was useless. Is there more?
Right.
There's nothing in the box.
And what do we call that? I'm going to call it something.
What?
Because it's the nothing that is something, which is nothing.
Why are you laughing? He summarised your nonsense quite eloquently. I mean, you're smiling and laughing about it, but that is actually the summary. Chuck isn't that stupid. He can summarise your nonsense quite eloquently, and he has done. That's what he just did, summarise the nonsense. It's the nothing that is something that is nothing. Or the something that is nothing that is something.
You sound like a 12-year-old kid.
So do you, Tyson. That's what he summarised, your nonsense. You have more complex words for the same nonsense. It was a summary.
Just rattling on.
Yeah, you say it like that, it sounds so stupid. Yeah, and us pausing every 20 seconds to pull it apart based on what you said, it sounds just as stupid. We were laughing along. I was having to contain myself for a lot of the nonsense that you were saying. But it's only funny in summary. Yeah, because it sounds stupid in summary, doesn't it?
Just something, there's nothing, there's something. I think it's something.
Yeah, this sounds so silly.
And there's nothing. So it's just something it.
Yeah, meanwhile, we haven't got pseudo four-space time dimensions to bend. We also covered Becky at the beginning of the pre-show, or halfway through the pre-show. So, same exact thing. Exactly the same thing. I assume that's why these two followed each other. Right, 10th?
Yeah, just finish it off, please.
Okay.
No,
So-
that's pretty. That's pretty intense to think about, though, because where you got me is because no laws of physics. Now you can't even have time. Now there really is.
Say there's no laws of physics, Chuck. It's to say no one's around to describe stuff that's always happening. Yeah? But you've been hoodwinked by Tyson into this idea or notion that the descriptions of things that occur always... Well, if we got rid of the descriptions of things, who cares? Same with time. How we have given this convention to another person to say how long it took for something to occur, that isn't going to make any difference to the elapse of our known universe, whether we describe it or not, or whether we're here to experience it or not. It makes absolutely no difference. It's merely a convention. But because Tyson's made you take this to La La Land, where you can eradicate the conventions that are governing the world, no, they're just descriptions, Chuck. Doesn't make any difference if you eradicate them completely. If no one had ever come up with the description of the second law of thermodynamics, gas would still fill space. Always. Even if no one was around to experience it.
No thing there at all.
Say no thing, and suddenly it makes sense. No thing. So not nothing, but no thing. I see. How clever, Chuck.
Einstein is becoming more clear.
That's what Dyslow said that one day. He got that from Tyson then. There's a difference between nothing and no thing. Remember that?
I do.
Yes, I do.
Yep. I was going to say the same thing.
Everybody remembers. Z-ballers, we don't remember. We don't forget your nonsense easily. Who was that? I've forgotten.
It was Dyslow.
Excuse me.
Who?
Excuse me. I think I meant that.
We just said it was dice.
Die slow.
Die slow.
Thanks, Chocolate.
Correct. And, you could take this one step higher and say, the fact that I can describe it as being nothing has given meaning to the thing, allowing me to say that it's not nothing. Because I can describe it.
Holy
as
crap.
having nothing.
My God.
That's got to be played again.
It's real. I knew it.
Why aren't they
Imagination
hold on.
is real.
Wasn't that the same as Chuck's summary? I mean, why aren't they laughing hysterically when he says it?
No,
to the thing, allowing me to say that it's not nothing. Because I can describe it as having nothing.
Right. So yeah. So now that.
So philosophically, right? It's partly a language issue, partly a physical issue. What does it mean?
So that's it. That's everything then. So it's a physics issue. So that's the physical, and it's a language issue. How we be communicating the physical. That pretty much sums up everything then.
Well, it's a language issue, and that they're not using language correctly. That's what the problem amounts to.
Yeah, no, it's twofold. We've got a problem with the actual physics of the stuff, its physicality, and we've got a problem with how we're describing it. So, I mean, I think we should start communicating this stuff to the general public immediately.
What they're actually admitting, especially Tyson, was he's not outwardly, he's saying it, but not outwardly saying it, is that Einstein's special and general relativity is only imagination. So the laws of physics, which are the laws that govern nature, cannot apply to it. Just like when Rumpus says the second law of thermodynamics does not apply to the Earth.
The second law of thermodynamics does not apply to the Earth.
Well, we have you on record saying that. It's just.
Where have you got me on record saying that entropy doesn't apply to the Earth? I'd never say such a thing. The second law of thermodynamics does not apply to the Earth.
I love that.
The laws of physics are the laws of our 3D reality, right? Because that's our normal everyday reality. They're the laws of physics. But they don't apply to the heliocentric model. And literally, that, from what I'm hearing, that's what Neil deGrasse Tyson is trying to concede to without outwardly saying it. This is total nonsense. This is what he's saying.
To be able
Eddington must be rolling around in his grave right now.
to describe something at all that is nothing, that means you've described something that is a thing.
Right.
Now let me say, let's not even have anything that you can describe.
Right.
Now
What
you
do
got nothing.
What? Now you got nothing. And what do you call that? See? Because you can't call it nothing. That's
Because, no, that's the whole point. You can't call it anything because then you've just contained it.
Right.
Just because you can't describe it doesn't qualify it as nothing. By the simple fact that you said you can't describe it means that you've identified it as something, but you can't describe it. That's the admission, but that makes it something. So just because you by default admit your defeat in your vocabulary, the question of language, that doesn't then make it nothing, does it?
Right, he's reducing it to a petty semantic issue. I mean, this is nonsense.
He's trying to, isn't he? He's trying to validate the crap he's just spouted. And his is a lot worse and more contradictory than Chuck's fantastic summary, which is probably what he's trying to get away from with his continued waffle, because Chuck's summary was perfect. It's smuffing.
You've just turned it into a thing that's a thing.
That's right. Oh, man. See, that's pretty wild.
There you go.
That is wild. Oh, so, okay. Now, for those of you who would like to now go smoke your marijuana and rewatch this, this is what I am saying to you.
Now that is the point, Nathan, right? So when D-Rose we started, the same description I gave, didn't I, about nothing, something, blah, 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 that waffle. But that conversation quickly descended into us guys in thinking, just basically teasing the guy that was saying it. Are you a stoner, mate? You sound like you're really high. Wow, man, it's like nothing. It's really something, dude. And therefore it isn't nothing. Yeah, that is where we're at. And it's funny that those two, you know, in this presentation, they've qualified it at the end. They've recognized themselves that they do sound like a couple of teenage stoners just thinking about philosophical stuff. And he did mention that it's a philosophical point. And that's what it comes to. He sounds like a pair of stoners. And that's what the other guy sounded like with us, with Neil and D-Rose.
Yeah, a couple of guys who are smoking weed and talking complete and utter rubbish, which is basically 99% of the weed conversation. Yeah.
But for what it's worth, there's one of the layers of multiverses, because there's several layers, where...
Oh, John?
Well, I was going to say, so in conclusion, when I said I was going to talk about nothing, I didn't do that.
The laws of physics,
there is
as we
no
know.
such thing as nothing, unless you step into the fantasy land where you can qualify nothing as truly nothing if you are outside of the time-space continuum, because otherwise time is reified into something that becomes something. Therefore, nothing can be nothing because time is something. With regards to the fabric of space-time, so the only way you can do it is to be. This is what he's ultimately saying: is become God to qualify the term nothing.
He just said multiverses. Look how far people are taken into begging the question, false realities. This whole talk, can you imagine the audience watching this? And then they say, oh yeah, that movie, Doctor Strange, the multiverse. I mean, you see how they're doing all this?
He's just shot himself in the foot, though, hasn't he? Because if there's multiverses, then that means there's the appearance of things within another fabric. The multiverses appear within there. Therefore, you might have theoretical multiverses constantly appearing and disappearing before you could measure them. Therefore, his previous definition of nothingness actually would contain these quantum multiverses appearing. Therefore, they would have something in.
Well,
Right.
it,
I
it's
can
only
step into
there
this
if
bollocks.
we
I
can
can make
describe.
bollocks up
If you
all
can't
day long.
describe it, it can't be real. But if you can describe it, it's real.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
but they
therefore, his
say
definition of nothing
look,
is
hey,
invalid
fellas,
if you
fellas,
go to multiverse.
but they
this is the
say
narrative they're this is the narrative they're pushing hard. Spider-Man movie had it. Quantum Mania had it with Ant-Man. They are pushing this hard. Interstellar. They've been pushing this for a long time. It's called conceptual entertainment. But the problem is they know that people in the public sometimes they wish for this. So they wish for it so much that they accept it as a probability in reality. And it's just like I said before, when I first came on here. I remember there was a time with me and my pops when I got to be an adult. Me and my pops and my brother, who's we would smoke our weed and we'd be talking, we'd be, conceptualizing. We'd be saying, what's deep? As many stars as we cannot count in the sky, maybe those stars are where we go back to when we die. You know what I'm saying? Like our soul's like the aerosol in the can. Can is the body. So when we die and our ghost leaves us, we go up in the sky and the stars. And that's probably where all of our ancestors are looking down from us from the stars. You can get deep like that when you're smoking weed. That's what I'm trying to tell you. These people from the time of Einstein back then, I really think there was some type of either other than the nefarious agenda, but there was some type of hallucinogen or some type of some formula that made them trigger this thing to think this and to come up with it. Because if you think about it conceptually, it's brilliant, man. It's really brilliant. But the
I want to
problem
bring
is
up a
people
Einstein.
can't.
Hold on.
Sorry.
Can you guys let Cheech finish his admiration for Tyson's nonsense?
I'm not cheap. I'm charmed.
They say you
Get
get
that right.
the
I'm
mentality of an
Get it
infant
right.
when you smoke.
Get it right. I'm charmed. All right. But yeah, so that's what I'm saying. It's it's brilliant though. But to me, it's conceptual entertainment. That's all.
I'll go after
Outside
Brian.
of the stoner argument, I think the point was missed. He's completely undone his own argument for his conceptual way of imagining nothingness with all the problems that nothingness is somethingness in his conceptual 4D Einsteinian world. The second he goes to multiverses, then the definition that he previously used, which is where nothing will manifest, is then in a medium where multiverses, universes are manifesting. So he undoes his own description the second he does that.
Yes, I want to comment on that because you also hear them say that these multiverses would have a different laws of physics because they're different. Okay, so then you're admitting that where we are has the current laws of physics, right? So entropy. So how do you have gas pressure next to a vacuum? So by admitting that these multiverses, of course, in their imagination, are governed by either no laws of physics or different laws of physics, you're also admitting that the laws of physics we experience here governs our system. But you're also going against that system because obviously gas pressure needs containment. So it's they're doing themselves in.
No, them don't even apply at all. They're not just different; they just don't exist.
Don't exist.
Yeah, and so that's another thing. We'll talk about the multiverse in another explainer video. But we got to go, Chuck.
All right. Okay. I'll see you in the multiverse.
Smoking weed in the multiverse.
That's right.
What I tell you.
That Chuck smokes weed.
Yeah, that weed part is definitely showing for them.
What I tell you. I'm telling you.
Hold on. Can you back off your mic a little bit, Armin? Thank you.
This is my point from earlier. Einstein constantly spoke about the power of the imagination. And Einstein, supposedly, but by all accounts, was a fan of opioids and LSDs, right? So what they're basically telling you is this paradigm that we sell to you as a reality was just dreamed up by somebody who was possibly in an opium death. That's what they're telling you.
Refractive. Who said this? Brian? Was this Brian? Thank you for saying that because I mentioned this when I first came on that Einstein was rumored. I couldn't prove it. So the person was like, prove that. No, I couldn't prove it because I couldn't find a citation. But yes, he was in the era of opioids and hallucinogens, mushrooms, whatever. And there was a time when it was legal and it was used a lot and it was used to be able to meditate. So that's what I'm saying. This is all correlated with that. Drug influenced conceptions, and there was even ancient civilizations that believed that they couldn't see the ancestors or go into the astral projection unless they used mushrooms. This is facts of ancient civilization. So I'm just saying, this whole thing has to do with using drugs, meditating and thinking things that the mind can only conceive, and then you start speaking it. The problem is the public doesn't know that that's what it is. So they look at it as a probability which they can't disprove. And being that these guys are considered geniuses and scholars and intellectual, revered people mention it, then they like, you know what, that makes sense. That's possible. Just like talking about after death. We don't know what really goes on after death except what other men write down on paper and tell us what it is.
Go ahead.
I'm not an Einstein fan or nothing, but I can't just say that because there are drugs and there was a time when people used drugs that he was on drugs. That just doesn't work for me.
That's better. You're back to normal now, Refracted.
Yeah, that was a pretty heavy.
Yeah, it was fun yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a role reversal.
Hold on.
I can't see he was on drugs. I know he was on his cousin, wasn't he?
No matter how spacey the idea is, right?
Yes, Neil.
The problem with the multiverse is that if we're in the universe where nothing is something and something is nothing, well, there's got to be a universe where the laws of physics, in quote, are reversed. So there's a universe where nothing is nothing and something is something.
Let's do it. Let's go to Red Dwarf backward.
Let's go.
There's a universe where time runs backwards. But going to the toilet is not a pleasure. So these are all, we've said this before, all these things come out of science fiction. It's just nonsense.
Crap. Well, in that the ether and the idea of space time, they're intrinsically linked. Well, yeah, intrinsically linked because that's what he's suggesting the ether is space and time combined.
Yeah, so we'd spent ages with dealing with the space, mitigating for odd molecule here and there, or even theoretical particles. And then once we removed all that, I said, just a quick bet, but that doesn't mean there's still not nothing there because there's time. He wouldn't explain it, which time he meant. But suddenly it was there for something, and that's why we have to step out of the universe, outside of nature, and nature being a four-dimensional construct with time.
And if possible, Adam, Practive, anybody, could you guys please differentiate by breaking down the difference between the elements, earth, wind, and fire, yada yada, compared to people putting that together with like the guy that was talking about nothing from something, how how sparking a flame or how you put two things together and it causes a combustion or an explosion, and how how the different element tables have these different names to them that make up supposedly molecular structures of constructs of certain things. Could you see that's the whole thing? Because elements exist, earth, wind, and fire, but what does that have to do? People connect that with the ether or whatever is the ether or whatever is in the ether that makes up the ether, which is these atoms, neutrons, protons, electrons that we don't see. But there, something's there that makes fire. Something's there that makes the wind blow. We can't see it, but we can feel it. You feel what I'm saying? So could somebody break that?
The same ether. You're talking about the origin of alchemy ether, or the spirit component, but that has nothing to do with the modern physics-based misconception of ether that's supposed to relate to light being a wave. I mean, there's so many different incarnations of the word ether out there for bigger concepts. There's multiple, right? And these are not the same. So
Thank you.
you're mixing it
And
up.
also,
No, I'm not mixing it up.
also
I'm just,
elements.
I triggered.
Didn't catch that.
No, I said no, I wasn't mixing it up. I brought that up so that someone like you who can clarify that by what you said. I just wanted to push a button and trigger something because this is what the general public gets misconstrued and intertwined and put it all in one basket. I don't understand that there's a difference. And there's been the bastardization of it.
All right, well, the elements that you're earth, wind, and fire, those are philosophical. When you say elements, right? They're elemental. It's a philosophical way of looking at them. When you're talking about physics, they're not elements. Right? They're not elements. Right?
There's only one ether left. According to James Clerk Maxwell in 1878, ethers were invented for the planets to swim in, to constitute electric atmospheres and magnetic effluvia, to convey sensations from one part of bodies to another, and so on, until all space had been filled 3 or 4 times over with the ethers. The only ether which has survived is that which was invented by Huygens to explain the propagation of light. End of fucking citation.
That would be your luminiferous ether.
Oh dear, oh dear.
I see what you did there, Adam.
No, that wasn't that is what luminiferous ether is. That's Kiwi's saying that's the one that's left by the time we've got the scientists in the mid 1800s. But there was all sorts. This one, I think, is what he refers to in a heliocentric way, which is the planets to swim in. Well, prior to them being planets, they were gods, and it was the blue sky that was the ether, that was the manna of the gods. It's what the gods fed off. The ether is what they believed to be and it exists from. So there was all sorts of uses of ether. But when we get to our time, it generally is that luminiferous ether, which, as John said, its function and purpose was we believed that light to be a wave, and therefore it would need a medium to propagate in, the luminiferous ether.
Yeah, and from the description,
like to debunk
it's
that with citation.
completely adapted to heliocentrism as well. So, ether is a heliocentric concept.
Yeah. So why you think this idiot numpty? 1 second. So why do you think this idiot numpty of the diameter of Venus is the same as Earth's fame invented? Why do you think Kristen Huygens invented this ether? Why do you think so? Christian Huygens formulated the first detailed wave theory of light. He needed to grease the skids with his horseshit.
Well, I would like to go ahead and debunk him
and break up.
Good.
Oh no, I was going to cite Witsit Gets It and say that light doesn't travel, Mr. Huygens.
No, you picked. What day was that?
I can't remember. It's all just like the travel of light, not traveling, propagation through a medium. It doesn't propagate. Just
So
pick any one of them.
So QE, my question is, so the luminiferous ether is different from that ether that they said is velvet and has an actual texture to it that's in so-called space, or does it become luminiferous ether once a luminary shines light upon it? Huh?
No.
I'm kind of.
We don't have
I have
ether
no
anymore.
idea. You'll have to ask them.
We don't have ether anymore in the astrophysicist world. You have what Refracted alluded to earlier. You have quantum foam. That's the medium of non-physicality for things to manifest into in a quantum hijack.
What is it called? Quantum foam?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
They should have called it probability foam.
But if you don't put quantum on there, it doesn't sound scientific-y.
Yeah, I know, but if they call it probability foam, then it would have been more honest to the original nature of it.
No, this is the hijacking. Yeah, there's nothing quantum about it. Yeah, there's nothing related to quantum mechanics that's got anything to. This is just purely, once again, theoretical physics, as outlined by, I think, Neil. He needed something for his theoretical particles to manifest in from, because there's nothing there. So there has to be something there, which is your fabric of space-time. Yeah, and which is what allows, because there's something there, that time component, it allows the partial manifestation of theoretical particles. Meaning there is something there in nothing. But there's no link to the quantum mechanics. It's just, as Refracted, it's just hijacking that word in a way that the way it tries to manufacture a description for these things that we can't measure just popping out of nowhere. It tries to hijack quantum mechanics as that causation. Now it can't just do that directly, because there's no such thing as quantum and there's no way in which particles just manifest from nothing in quantum mechanics in this way. So you have to have then a secondary imaginary medium for this bit of magic to occur in, just like the light propagating as a wave. You have to have an imaginary medium for it to occur in. This time, it's quantum foam. It'd be rubbish if you just called it foam.
And you know what? I appreciate, Adam, how you use the word theory, theoretical, theorist, whatever, because that's another thing that kind of people think that a theory is a proven fact or it's a scientific truth or whatever. But huh?
I'm using
Well, then why are we
theory
using
there
why are
is
we
a
using theory?
mathematical theory.
Why are we connecting theory to these guys' rhetoric, like Neil and all of them? Why are we using the word theories? That's going to make people think that what Neil is saying is Neil deGrasse is saying is true,
Because
scientific
there's a
truth, right?
difference between scientific theory and just the colloquial use of the word theory.
And
Right.
theoretical.
There you go.
They're all different.
Thank you. Okay,
There
thank you.
comes
Because
a
I could say
point
that
where
I could say all unicorns are
discernment is
left-handed.
required,
That's my
D-Rose.
theory.
Yeah.
Huh?
If we're talking about theoretical astrophysics, yeah, that's what we're talking about, isn't it? So we know the subject matter we're talking in. So if we then say theoretical, we're talking about these mathematical theories, because we're in theoretical astrophysics. Nothing exists. Nothing's real. The quantum foam doesn't exist. It only exists in a theoretical mathematical formula. And that becomes very long-winded. But that's what I'm meaning when I say that. I'm not, maybe should use the long-winded version.
Well,
I got you.
and I would
Also,
argue that
theories.
all of those terms, all of those terms, that ambiguity is necessary. It's intentional, right? It's so that they can sneak things in and confuse the masses. They don't know we're saying theory, theoretical, scientific theory, colloquial theory.
There
It's
you go,
all
blind spot. Yep.
science. Yeah,
That's
Thank you.
correct.
Thank you.
Got
That's
it.
what I'm saying.
He's a sharp little cookie there, Adam.
That's why he was given the challenge.
No, that's why you leave him alone.
Yeah,
Leave him
sure.
right here.
What?
He's simping now.
Ask him how it went. Did he do it?
He's simping.
That's right. I
No,
left
I'm-
Brian and
I
I
have
went to
I have
Brian.
I have a
Wow,
week
you
to complete my
you
mission.
flat left
It's only been 2 days.
Brian,
Yeah.
Neil?
He's a spot simp now. Spot simp.
Brian yelled at me, so I'm done with Brian.
Ah, I see, I see.
To be fair,
Welcome back
Did he
here.
accept your challenge up?
I'll be back, Brian.
he's been a good big brother, really. He kept accusing me of trying to pollute his mind. That's why.
No, all I was saying was I got stuck in a piece of nonsense. Don't send him there.
Did you not just
All
hear that appraisal?
Not really. There's a lot of noise going on here.
Yeah,
I'd
I
like to
think
go
you're
back
quite
to a
easily
topic.
cope with Ethereum with rhetoric.
I'd like to go back and bring up Kristen Huygens before Brian comes in, just briefly. It seems like Arwen's countryman had his hands in the cookie jar more than often in this heliocentric bullshit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's why Arwen's here, John.
What? Who? Who are we talking about?
Christian Huygens.
Oh, Huygens. Yeah. Huygens. That's how you pronounce it. Good luck.
Go ahead, Brian. I just
Say that again.
Oh, fuck.
Huygens. Say his name again. Spell it out.
It is Huygens.
Christian Huygens.
Oh, Huygens. Yeah. Christian Huygens.
Yeah.
That's how we say it. So Huygens.
Clear your throat.
Good luck. And I'm saying good luck
Gesundheit.
sarcastically because I know that you can't do it. And it's amuses me.
Lal Schwaben Helkins.
Huygens.
No, Christian Huygens.
Yeah,
Christian Huygens.
Oh, not
Spetterling.
Huygens. Huygens. Not how.
Huygens.
Ow. Oh,
All
God.
right.
Fun.
You can spell it
words.
phonetically.
All right. Sorry about that, QA.
Haukins. Spell it like that. Hawkins. Then it'll sound more Dutch. Don't spell it with the actual letters, because the Dutch
No,
are
it's
always
Old
at this.
Dutch. No, it's
They're
Old Dutch.
always-
Modern Dutch uses UI, but the Old Dutch uses the Y. But it
Yeah, but
is
if you-
Huygens.
Yeah, Howkins. Just think of it that way. Hawkins. And that'll sound Dutch. But that's not how it's spelled. Because the Dutch spell stuff and then decide to pronounce it some completely different way.
But that's Americanization. They do that with all things. Huygens. Christian Huygens. I even took over the Americanization when I pronounce it English. Because I know that otherwise nobody will understand what I'm saying. It just sounds like some alien language to them.
It does sound like an alien language. What was you
Because
saying,
it is an
QA?
alien language.
Yeah, you're missing the point that Christian, I'm not going to work here anymore.
Huygens or Huygens? You
He
choose.
has scrubby little fingers and a whole bunch of heliocentrism. I just wanted to point that out.
For sure.
You think?
Well, we got our baller founder.
Explaining.
So, yeah.
Explaining why Arwen is here. Submersive or
The Dutch are dirty little buggers in history. And when getting close to being found out, they gave everything to the British and ran off and disappeared into history just to become clog wearers and just be known for nice cheeses and things like that. But they have the biggest hand, I think, in with all of this navigation stuff. Australia used to be called New Holland, yeah, before it was discovered by Cook. The Dutch.
How about New Amsterdam, New York, right?
Well, indeed, that's another example. But yeah, the
Right,
West
but the
Coast of
Dutch
Australia was
invented
New
banking.
Holland.
right? People are officially, we've been notified in history as having invented banking. So you're welcome. Sorry.
You invented the dirty, filthy corporate machine. You invented the Dutch India Company that then became the East India Company, then became the British Empire. You invented it. That's what I said. And the first sign of it getting a bit dirty, you were off and disassociated.
Is that who Captain Jack was fighting all the time?
I would imagine, yes. I think that's the hidden history. The Dutch history is well dodged, but they were there doing it all when everything's Dutch. Like I say, New York is New Amsterdam. Just all these odd things with really dodgy stories.
Yeah, we sold New Amsterdam for really cheap to the Americans. It's a huge ripoff.
Of course, you're going to try to rumpus the conclusion, Arwen.
It's probably some.
You're going to try to rumpus the conclusion. You know where it's going, Arwen. That's why you're rumpusing me. Therefore, you must be a shill working for the government.
Exactly.
Okay.
Through the Hague.
Ew, not those.
The International Criminal Court. Yeah, see there.
What the hell?
Thanks,
I know.
Yeah, they have the International Criminal Court in their own country, so they can't be convicted by themselves.
See? Sticky fingers, the Dutch.
And we just
sticky fingers.
Well, I have nothing to do with that.
And we just so happen to have a Dutchman here. Is anyone else drawing the line that I'm pointing to?
Coincidence? First one here. You all came after me. Yeah?
We actually have two Dutch people, because we have another lady called Betty who was here before any of us.
See?
I was here before Discord was even discovered. Yeah.
They have infiltrated.
Like Dutch history,
That's right.
I'm cursed with everything.
Did you just admit you were lying in wait?
The best way to overcome a rebellion is lead it yourself.
But yes, I was lying in wait because I'm Dutch, and that's what Dutch people do. We're first with everything. You're welcome.
Well, you don't have to go up and down over hills and mountains because you don't have them. So it's clear sailing for you.
Mostly, we have a bit of hills in the south, but not a lot. It's mostly flat.
Clear
Is that normal
for ye?
All this time when QE called you a terrorist sympathizer and I argued for you, and it's been proven today, proven without doubt, that you are infiltrating the Flat Earth movement. Guilty.
Well, we know he could be Betty's
then?
I've been watching the Vikings, though.
What am I? Because as far as I know, I'm a flat earther.
You're a Viking.
What? A Viking?
A Viking. Accepted.
What does that mean?
I don't know. I watched the Viking show now.
Oh, okay. Well, skull.
When you said Vikings, I was like, yeah, man, that's yeah.
Oh,
I heard that like last night.
Oh, wij praten gewoon als Nederlanders. Huigen is hoe je dat uitspreekt.
Yes, that's what I'm.
This isn't going.
Yes.
Arwen, this is not a legitimate defense. This is not a legitimate defense. I'm sorry. Trying to change the subject.
It's called a proper distraction. Now let's move on already.
Yeah, it's exactly what you want, isn't it?
What do you want from me?
I'll stop now.
I actually want to hear if Blind Spot, how it went when he went to the Feast of Nonsense.
Yeah, how's it
Well,
going?
I have a week. Yeah, the mission's a week-long mission. I'm only on day 2, so it's merely the beginning. But you'll have to wait until the end, Refracted, to find out. I'm not going to postulate any opinions just yet. So I still have to do more research.
Oh, my respect's growing, bro. My respect's growing. I like that. Proper mission.
I do like I do like he's trying to remain unbiased. That's nice.
So I went to Witset's channel. I think it's called Witset Gets It. Is that right? Is that There's like he's got like 20,000 subs. Is that the right channel? First of all,
I think that is what we would call the primary source.
okay. And so I went to the presentation on Ether, and after spending an hour and a half of listening to his muffled microphone, he then started over with a clear microphone, and I had to listen to it again a second time. So, if you know, it's I've spent a lot of time there. Let's put it that way, Refracted. So that's all I can reveal at this time.
Well,
That's acceptable. You've
normally
not made a decision on the information. You're just talking about how it was disseminated. That's fine. I like it.
Yeah, and so I've got 1702, which is an episode of FED that I heard Quantum mention, where I guess Witsit was on. So that's also queued up as, look, I want to see both sides of the argument, I suppose. And so I've got some, probably 3 or 4 additional videos from Witsit's channel that I thought might be, or help be explanatory. But if you guys have any good information for me, please send it to me, DM me on Discord if there's something you want me to look at.
You have to combine. You have to combine 1702 with 1724, the 8-day later story.
Okay.
So,
but yeah, if there's any
1702
other good resources on the Ether side, please send me a link. Or because the only thing I got right now is Witsit's channel. That's the only place I know where to kind of see the other opinion, I suppose.
I'll give you a link. Where are you?
Kent Wheeler.
No, I'm gonna send them
Like
a
on
link right
Discord.
now. Where you in Discord
Yeah.
Yeah.
and in voice text? Or I
Yeah,
or
after
I could
show.
I'll just PM you.
Thanks. That helps. That
Carry on.
helps the blind guy.
What's going on? You adding Blind Spot to G Plus?
I think
No,
that's a
he's
good
just
idea.
sending me a message, a link.
Well, did you see QE Live, Nathan, on in the week?
What? A couple of days ago.
Yeah.
The one with the black clown. Was it Soundly on the thumbnail?
Can't remember. But we towards the end we.
Hold on. You mean QE Live show from 2 days ago?
Yeah.
No, I didn't know.
So Blind Spot's kindly accepted a request, and he was tasked with going away and looking at either Umis or Ethereums, and he chose Ethereums, and he's going to do what I did, because like I said, as the emissary, I went away and I tried my best to understand it, and he says he's going to go away, and he's as he's showing, he's doing that now, trying to get his head into this claim, trying to understand it. The purpose of the request was to, at the end of the week, ask him whether or not he's closer to a ball, closer to flat Earth. Did it help him, or was it a waste of his time? Is it just a new paradigm, and this is how we should all be viewing things? So just to evaluate that way of entering into the flat Earth as a newbie, what does first exposure to Ethereum, true earthing, do for your first few steps? Does it put you off, or does it make you even flatter? So that was the kind of the request, which he's kindly doing.
Against my wishes.
That's so sweet, Neil.
Neil's trying to protect you from misinformation.
Trying to
But
protect him from the
seem-
nonsense.
You don't have.
But like I said, I mean,
Right.
look, I got to be unbiased, Neil. So maybe it's not nonsense. Maybe it's true, Neil. And then you'll have to debate me if I come back with that conclusion.
You see what I'm saying? A little leaven's the whole freaking lump.
No, he's just being fair.
That's
He's not looked at the
intellectual
information yet.
Yeah, that's intellectual honesty. It's all you can do. Yeah. So he shouldn't listen to us saying ether's a load of bollocks. Yeah. He should look at it and either agree or disagree with us, having looked at it anyway.
You should have stayed in moist.
Hold on. Sorry, Brian. I hate to cut you off at that point. That's something I've been trying to get across to Neil. Right. The type of person that Neil wants society to be comprised of is the type of person that says, I don't know if I buy what you say. I'm going to look into it and find out for myself. But I take on board what you've said. I'll look into it further. And then does and then makes their assessment based on the logical consistency or otherwise, right? However, a lot of the people that will watch shows like this, not necessarily this show, will want the situation presented, packaged, summarized, overcome, and then the overcome summarized so that they can understand it and repeat it. They don't actually want to critically think about what's being presented to them. And a lot of flat earthism comprises of people like that. They want their paradigm replacing. And as we've said many times, there's people out there like Witsit in this example that will cater to them. But those are the people that you can't give what you want to give them, Neil, which is critical thinking skills.
Right. They just want the tools. They don't want to, or well, they might want to, but they're just not really understanding. But they do understand the tools. They do understand the little tricks. Even if they don't understand the tricks, they do understand that they work and they can memorize them.
Neil used to be betting on a sure thing, and he dropped it for a gamble.
D-Rose, weren't you supposed to send me something?
I didn't drop it, Brian. I was trying to protect somebody.
You can't come back.
Sorry, Brian. D-Rose. I figured you'd jump in. I'm talking. No. Carry on.
Neil, can you see, having spoken with Brian Spotter, I've got no fear of him turning into a Sith Lord. Yeah? It's not going to happen. Listen to how he's evaluating. Listen to how he's being honest now. And that's the best thing. Yeah? We used to have Iron Realm for it. Yeah? Test it. Prove it to yourself. Is it 2 Corinthians? Prove all things. Yeah? Yeah? And that's the point. It's not for anybody to tell us, I could be a very good orator, a convincer of bullshit. It's not to have any one source that you think, yeah, it's for you to draw your own conclusions.
Yeah, just thinking about that is a waste of one's energy.
Exactly.
Neil has a lot of energy.
Yeah, but that Neil, that point is to you. Just thinking about someone that, like, I don't worry about.
Here's the misunderstanding me. I give up. I got to work anyway.
How do you know I'm misunderstanding you? How do you know that this message
I'm not
isn't
talking
perfectly
about you.
tailored? All right, well, never mind then, yo.
Neil, I'm not attacking
me and God will keep it to ourselves.
Let me just defend Neil's sensibility. I'm not attacking you, Neil. It's a really good example. Yeah, it's in parody anyway, isn't it? Yeah, you going, oh, protect him, don't send him down to the feast. Yeah, this is a parody anyway. But actually, this point, yeah, is really important. Yeah, and it's not an attacking you saying, oh, you don't believe. Yeah, it's a point of, if we're going to ask somebody, what's your opinion? Then I don't want his opinion if all he's done is watch Flat Earth debate and formed it from that. Yeah, I want his opinion as an intellectual man that will consider it. Then it has some weight, because as he said to you, I might come back and debate for the other side. Yeah, that's an opinion worth having.
Well, when I first heard Blind Spot, he reminded me, his voice was very similar to, I can't remember if it was Charles Flatter Math or MC Toon. I think it was Charles. So, Blind Spot is either...
Is this insulting?
Yeah.
Just wait. You got to find out.
You're going to find out. Yeah. But the problem I had is that, how could it be Charles Flatter Math? Because he has an intellect and critical thinking. So I don't, like, even if Charles Flatter Math tried to act his way in here under a different name, a pseudonym or whatever, how would he act the critical thinking?
Critical
so
thinking.
If you are Charles Flatter Math, then hats off to you. You've done a solid job.
Then I'm a good actor. Yeah.
Critical thinking.
No, I guess I want to make a. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. He was addressing you. Go ahead.
You've just been called Charles Flat Earth Mac. The floor is yours.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know who that is. I actually want to make a point in defense of Neil, because what Neil is saying, or Neil's sentiment, his heart is in the right place. And I would say it's because of what Nathan said that's true, which is, again, very early into this conversation, but I would generally say, and this is probably a stereotype fallacy, but there are a lot of people that are probably predisposed to eat at the table of the Feast of Nonsense, right? That essentially they want to be given, right? They want to be fed. And so I see why Neil is hesitant, but I do appreciate everyone here's confidence in me to analytically and critically think something. Now, look, if you posit some fabric of space-time that's called ether now instead, and that ether is responsible for the transmission of luminiferous whatever, fine, posit that, but then you better back it up, right? And that's the reason. Again, all of you have forgotten more about science than I know. I'm a sales guy. I'm not a scientist, right? And I haven't studied the subject, even if I were a sales guy with a scientist hobby, right? So you guys have forgotten more than I know yet. So, but what I do know is that if you present me with a claim, then I expect you to back it up. And if I can go to the primary source material, see that what you're saying is true, and that you're not making baseless assertions or whatever, other logical fallacies, right, and confusing things, okay, then maybe you have a point. Maybe you have some credence, but I'll go research them. And I think it's difficult. It's time-consuming, but I think it's important. But I think a lot of other people, it's click next, right, on my YouTube video, play next. I just want to be fed all the answers, right? And so I have to take whatever I'm fed as truth because I'm just hitting next, right? So anyways, Neil, I'm just defending you a little bit. I understand where the sentiment comes from, but know that, look, and if I go to Witsit and he can back up his claims with all kinds of evidence, then damn right, I'll come back and I'll debate you, Neil, or I'll debate Adam and say, okay, why do you say he's doublespeak or whatever, right? And that's just being intellectually honest, because I'll take anyone's claim as long as they can back it up with evidence and demonstrate it with scientific experiment, whatever the case might be.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's gonna pick up this message like ever. I've only been saying it forever. It's a waste of time. It's a it's a waste of energy. If you don't already, if you're not seeking out, you know, how not to commit logical fallacies for your own benefit when you're thinking about things, when you're by yourself, because I learned a lot of things before I got here. It didn't stop me from getting here. Right. Like at the same time, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry for y'all out there who whatever, but Witsit's on the other side of this conversation, right? And he was hanging out with us, the scientific method and logical fallacies and all this and all that. And is he on your side, Neil? Like, so, I mean, who and what you pour your time and energy into is important. Just because somebody's not exposed to quote unquote the Feast of Nonsense, it's not gonna help. It's not gonna help that you shield them from it because they're still gonna think the way they think anyway. Which, unless somebody is going to choose to correct their thinking or start beginning to, fix their psychological problems, they're going to fall in that pit regardless of what you say, regardless of what you do, which means it's not up to you. We already know the changing of a heart is up to God. So you putting your energy into that is a waste.
No, I'm not. Here's what I said. When I came into this, I wound up in a Feast of Nonsense. I did not know anything about Nathan Oakley 1980, quantum eraser, knew nothing about it. Okay, I did find my way here, well, actually through David Weiss mentioned it. But that was then. What I'm saying is, if we could avoid this guy going in here and nonsense, why send him there? He's already here.
I think, Neil, the Feast of Nonsense phrase comes from where we feasted back in the day, from 2015 to 17ish, yeah, and you start to. It's important, yeah. Now, if today the feast is considerably less, it's more like a mild buffet. You've got a kind of a Ethereum sausage roll and an upward rising vol au vent is all that's on offer. Yeah, they're easy things to digest, and once you get the taste of this nonsense, it helps you moving forward. I know you're saying avoid it, but I think actually, if you're serious, it's an inevitable consequence that you've got to deal with. Because as Blind Spot's saying, I'll appraise
That
it
you don't have to deal
as
with.
I see it. Go on, Eli.
No, I was gonna say that you do or don't have to deal with. But that was all I was saying.
I'm saying there's benefit in dealing with it, is what I'm saying. For you to then, as you go forward with critical thinking, yeah, the next bit of crap you come across, if you've had an upward rising vol au vent, yeah, you know what the next thing's going to taste like.
Adam, can I have some? No, Adam, can I have some no trees on flat Earth pudding? I'll take.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Absolutely fine. I'll be no trees trifle.
let me get the world map from the moon seasoning, please.
Yep.
Can I get a side order
way
of
you
clone
come to truth,
centers
though.
and can I get a side order of clone centers and Mandela effect, please?
Well,
I'll have an ice wolf smoothie, please.
No, this should be a restaurant for real.
Shouldn't it? An ice wolf snow cone.
The ice wall got to be a cake. Come on.
Ice wall punch.
A dough muffin.
Ooh.
Firmament fries, Neil.
Go ahead. Hit him with the special bleeding fallacies.
Stop it.
Just to count, not to get at Neil, but I think what he's worried about with Blind Spot, which sounds to me to be very intellectually honest, is that like I don't think you have much to worry about, being that yeah, he found himself here before entering the Feast of Nonsense. But wouldn't you say that because he found himself here first, that he'd be well armed to go into the Feast of Nonsense to deal with whatever it's thrown at him?
No, because he just got here. He doesn't know anything. That's why this is the best place. That's why he should do it.
It's not like he's just walked into the First Presbyterian Church, had a good congregation, met, or become part of the church, and then we say, right, we need you to do 1 week with the Mormons and another with some Seventh Day Adventists. Yeah, off you go. It's not the same thing. Like I say, there's benefit to tasting this crap, because you know what crap tastes like, then, don't you?
Right, but there's a
He's
difference.
got to have our dinner rolls first.
Seeking.
Hold on,
a
guys.
sec. There's a difference between seeking
Totally
truth
ruined my
and
joke.
believing you already know.
He's attempting him to assassinate Hitler. That was an impossible task.
Guys, do you remember the scene in not Life of Brian, the one where it's Knights of the Round Table, Monty Python? What's that one
And
called?
Holy Grail.
Holy Grail. Right, they get captured, or the king gets captured by the Knights who say "Ni," and after they've captured him, they start arguing about what they're going to do to him and what the punishment's going to be. And while they're arguing amongst themselves, they turn around and he's just disappeared. Now, I'm not saying the blind spot's disappeared, but I'm just saying you're arguing about a guy who's obviously got his own intelligence and whether or not he should be going to the table of the Feast of Nonsense. It's like, what are you, his mum? What's going on?
It's evolved past blind spot. It's more talking, certainly for me, it evolved past that. It's about...
Yeah, we've moved to philosophy now. Deeper concepts.
And I just want to point out, blind spot.
I'm just the token guinea pig for the conversation.
Charles Flat Earth map.
Oh, sorry. Brian wanted to offer some conspiratard nonsense on top of this. Go
I
ahead,
know
Brian.
how we can prove it. He'll prove he's not flat Earth math if he brings us 3.
If he's the weight of a duck.
Yeah, that's
a shrubbery. A shrubbery.
Hey, if I may, I like to say this: Blind Spot, you got to be pretty special to these guys, because, or either I ain't shit
because when I came on board, ain't nobody ever put me to no test, do nothing.
Let's clarify.
The real
There's
secret is
reasons for that.
you've been
It wasn't a test.
you've been
It was
tested
a
this entire
request.
time. This is actually your test right now. See, that's the whole thing.
Yeah, and we found out you're a
Ah.
pothead, so, you know, all bets are off now.
Original D Rose, weren't you supposed to send me some?
I think, oh, you know what it was? I could not, it was a TikTok thing, and I didn't know how to make it. It's a short. I didn't know how to send it to the DM, the direct messenger from the TikTok thing. It would only let me send it to the main chat of FED. That's what I was saying. It's on the main
ahead,
chat of
send it there.
FED, but it can't. You get it?
Go ahead and send it.
He just explained he can't. First he has to put down the bong. First he has to get a clear head. Then figure out the PM system.
Stop.
No,
Stop.
send it
No,
to
I can't send it.
the chat.
I can't send it through personal messenger. I can only send it through the main chat.
Yeah, that's fine. Just
That's
post it
under
in there now.
sobriety.
Go ahead.
Step away
Go ahead,
from the
Gary.
Thank
reefer.
you. That's
Step away from
that's
the reefer.
under sobriety.
Yeah, go ahead and don't leave, Nathan.
I've just posted, Nathan, in Master B.
Speak up, Adam.
I've just posted in Master B. Sorry, I'll get the mic. Just come up in my feed. Tomorrow night, I think it is, Red's Rhetoric, measuring the distance to the sun. So hopefully if he can keep it stick, it might be worth reviewing.
Is he still out here?
Yeah, well, apparently so. He's doing a show tomorrow night measuring the distance to the sun.
What?
How's he gonna do that?
Don't know. I've posted the link
Off a
in
tilted
chat.
shelf. Oh.
Hit him with the wing, chocolate.
Math is reality, bro.
In case you're wondering what happens when QE goes that loud, what I did was I set him up with a compressor, right? But he's stressing the compressor so much that it does that sound that you hear when he shouts down his mic. At least it doesn't overload my levels.
Shows
Sorry.
passion.
I thought he was using a good mic discipline, where as you're shouting, you move away from the mic.
No, that's
So
the
you still get
compressor.
the effect. But with-
Yeah, right.
This time I was right on it.
Okay, the compressor sorted it out. It just sounded rough as opposed to too loud.
What about this one? I'm going to go back. Hit him with the wall, chocolate.
Perfect.
There you go.
Will he be measuring the sun off a tilted shelf or a level shelf?
Don't start, man.
That's why I'm suggesting it might be worthy of review, if only quick appraisal of the methodology, of the methods.
Oh, brother.
I'm guessing from your tone, Adam, that he's going to prove the Earth's flat with his measurement, and then interject some nonsensical idea about it being a sphere afterwards.
I'm thinking we're going to start with the flat Earth and build from there. Yeah. Going to want an angle, aren't you?
I don't know how else to do it.
We're getting. I don't know. I'm looking at the picture. Let's have a little sniff. It's tomorrow night though. 29 hours it premieres in. Should be fun. Show more. So, no description.
Yeah, I got my timer set. I can't wait.
But I mean, I'm looking at the thumbnail. There's a ball Earth, there's a sun, and there's a really freaking massive ruler stretching from the sun to the Earth. So I'm guessing that's probably how they're going to do it.
With a really big ruler.
Well, that's what look at the thumbnail.
They should have started with that.
I mean, if that's what they do, I'm going to struggle to argue with it. To be fair, it's going to be solid evidence.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It should have started. If you could just do that, I mean, You would have saved us a lot of time.
Well, the tape measure would cool down as it approached the sun. It's just when it backs up is when it would burn up. So yeah, that's fine.
Nah, you need a special ruler made out of aluminum foil.
Space radiators. What we need, QE, isn't it?
No one picked up on what you just said, John.
I thought it was funny, but nobody
I thought
else
it was
laughed.
funny. I thought it was worthy of note. I'm not even going to reiterate it because now it's just your and I little, aside.
I understood it and I heard it and I appreciated it.
I appreciated it too.
Must have gone over my head. Do it again, John.
Yeah, go on, say it again.
I said the roller will be fine as long as it's going towards the sun. It's just if you try to pull it back is when it's going to catch on fire.
Yep.
What John's saying is, in terms of their description of the sun, as you get away from the sun's surface, it increases in temperature, or the claimed temperature increases as you back away from it. That's another second law of thermodynamics violation. Because instead of the entropy increasing as you back away from the sun, that is like you backing away from a bonfire in a quantum erasum example that he gave some time ago. But it's equivalent to you back away from the bonfire. No, you're next to the bonfire, so I have to start the example with you right next to it, just how it works. So you're right next to the bonfire, and you go, whoa, bloody hell, it's really hot. So you step back 10 feet, and as a consequence of you getting further away from the fire, you burst into flames because the heat's increased.
Yeah, but
mine was a little bit more dramatic. It was 100 meters back.
Yeah.
But why?
Go, Brian, go.
Go on, Nathan, I go after.
No,
Oh,
go, you go.
Why they promote such nonsense is because as you rise in altitude, it gets colder. So they must make the claim that it gets hotter as you move away from the sun. But because within their paradigm, as you rise, it gets colder. When you're getting closer to the sun is when you're rising. Because they must deny how gas pressure and temperature is created and vacuum. That's what they have to deny. So that's where they're coming from.
Yeah, but it gets colder, then it gets hotter, though.
Yeah, I was just going to mention on QE show, he was talking about the thermosphere at whatever, 4,500 F, is it? I'm not sure if it's F or C, or whatever the possible highest temperature there is. But yeah, so you start hot on the ground, get colder to what you're saying, Brian, and then get really hot again. And then what? What happens at the exosphere or whatever the next thing is, right? It's this kind of, I got to fit in whatever works, right?
It doesn't get really hot. It just gets a little warmer again. I mean, it's not hot up there.
And you'd want to send my guy away. Come on.
But see, they have a quandary because when they send up a high altitude balloon above 10 miles, it gets colder up to the 10-mile mark. Like it gets to a minus 50 plus degrees, depending on the day, time of year, and position. And then it starts warming up again. Where Mr. Sensible's Mage 2 recorded plus 5 degrees at about 24 miles or something like that. So that's a bit of an issue for them.
Okie dokie. That's going to be my point to round out. So, another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's live, pre-show, after-show, members-only show possible. And, of course, a massive thank you to all of you tuning in live, if you are, on the members-only stream, or in the Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, and for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 member, if you did want to join in with some of these members-only live streams. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
lovely day.
Shout out to the best mod on Flat Earth, that's Divergent Droid, who says, "Step away from the bong. Earth is not a globe."